Greetings and salutations to one and all. Welcome to a brand new week right here on the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. And a brand new month. My month. I want to say big ups to everybody locked in right now, those on TuneIn Radio. The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. Those hailing from across the pond on Harmony Radio, top of the morning to you guys over there in the UK. Those on the Foundation Radio Network, ClintonLindsay.com. WGLRO, home of the Donny Walker Morning Show, taking from the sheets to the streets, the People Station. Touching all points from Detroit to Denmark and everywhere in between. Big ups to those on PEMGTV.com. And of course, right here at the home of the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. Oh, let me not. It would be, oh my goodness. PEMGTV.com. Did I mention them? If I didn't, I just did. And if I did, they get two. Of course, those who are locked in right here at the home of the Night Shift to DJ Kevin Stew, kevinstew.com, where we are encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment. Welcome. So glad to have you. I couldn't do it without you. You have my word, I wouldn't even try. This is the sound of Shelly Sweet Shells. It's called My Neighbor.
No problems to sleep at night. I tell them I love me so good. In music, hot like a true love. Bring your body, come on out here. Move your body just like you don't care. We jamming it so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk to the soca. All our ways just jam together. I tell them it's so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. And bring your waist from walk to the soca. All our ways just jam together. I tell them it's so nice. Change your mind and don't think twice. I tell them it's so nice. He moving the whole crowd, singing soca loud and loud. It's my neighbor, no control. He said he just can't do that. He never hear music, so I tell him that's how we do it. Bring up what's on there, let's ride. It's a love effect all night. Come join and feel the vibe. I tell him just come over, enjoy yourself, no pressure. We jamming it so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist, come walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. I tell him it's so nice. Change your mind and don't think twice. I tell him it's so nice. He moving the whole crowd, singing soca loud and loud. It's my neighbor, no control. The music pumping big time, and woman taking small wine. Oh yeah, we in the street wet. We jamming, enjoying the flat. Something say look in the corner. It's my neighbor, he come over. He hand in the air, he jamming. On a bumper, it says moving. He moving the whole crowd, singing soca loud and loud. It's my neighbor, no control. What went on, I don't know. He moving the whole crowd, singing soca loud and loud. It's my neighbor, no control. We jamming it so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. I tell them it's so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. Yes, my neighbor. Jamming, jamming. We jamming it so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist, come walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. We jamming it so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist, come walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. I tell them it's so nice. Change your mind and don't think twice. I tell them it's so nice. He moving the whole crowd, singing soca loud and loud. It's my neighbor, no control. Yes, my neighbor.
Want to say big ups to those who are locked in the Reggae Global Radio chat room.
I tell him that's how we do it. Bring up what's on there, let's ride. It's a love effect all night. Come join and feel the vibe.
Snoop, welcome to Reggae Global Radio.
Enjoy yourself, no pressure. We jamming it
From this moment on, you say this station name with rolling your R. It's a Reggae Global Radio. I don't know how you're going to spell that in the text, but that's who it is. The sound of Shelly Sweet Shells. Want to say thanks to Pulse Media Group for sponsoring this segment of the broadcast. Pulse Media Group and being in the moment is priceless. They provide innovative streaming and recording solutions. If you have an event that you want to stream live, have a church that you want to give their own internet streaming, or a school, you want to stream an event, a party, wedding, funeral, Pulse Media can hook you up. And if you want to take it a step further and have your own internet broadcasting station, or you want to like what I do here on kevinstew.com and broadcast your event, whether it be your show, whatever it is, on your website, Pulse Media can hook you up. Go ahead and give them a call, 754-999-6020. Or check them out at paulcmg.com. Also want to say thanks to Althea and her Healing Heavenly Hands. Althea is a licensed massage therapist operating out of Broad County, North Miami-Dade and South Palm Beach counties. She comes to you, brings her table, has her oils, and of course her Healing Heavenly Hands. She comes COVID free and she'd like to leave that way. So if you know you're good to go, give her a call. 954-655-9000. You can even email her. fairlater@att.net. Those of you that follow me on social media, yeah, that's her working out. I shared that video. Yeah, my massage therapist is fitter than yours. I want to say thank you to Reggae Global Entertainment. Reggae Global Entertainment will act as your booking agents, handle your tour management, take care of your trademarks, your publishing, your legal service referrals, music production, marketing and promotion, so much more. Give them a call, 954-998-8034. And of course, GMAT Music Solutions, bringing your event to life, providing sound, light and stage production services, musical equipment, PA systems, audio engineers, DJs, bands, musicians, singers, Give them a call, 754-307-GMAC. That's 754-307-4622. And you can check them out at gmacmusicsolutions.com. You can do your online shopping with them too. Really cool. So I have one of my newly met neighbors. Yeah, I just met her yesterday. I've heard the name here and there, but I only just met her yesterday. And she seems okay, you know. She might beg to differ, but for me, she seems okay. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, and big ups to those who are locked in on Facebook. Facebook Live, remember, it's only temporary. Use the link, jump on over to kevinstew.com. Come on into the stew pot where the water is always fine. Those of you wondering what the stew pot is what others call a chat room. But because we're fancy over here on kevinstew.com, we call it the stew pot. So we keep things bubbling and interactive. It's a judgment-free zone. Come on in, share your opinions. We only ask that you keep it respectful. Okay? It's where we learn we're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment. So, call a friend, tell a friend, share it with a friend, but get familiar with the site, kevinstew.com. All you have to do is go there. If you don't hear anything, what you see on the video is live. If you don't hear anything, just take it off mute. That's all you got to do. The chat room, you're already there. You don't need to change your name. If you want to change your name, fine. Remain anonymous, fine. It's cool. All right? Cool. So, like I was saying, without further ado, I present to you the person of the moment. I'm just borrowing the space. I'm facilitating her. From this moment on, it's her show. She just doesn't know that yet. So we'll tell her as soon as she comes on.
Hold on. Not my show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Anika Omproy show.
Oh boy. You know, I appreciate you so very much for bringing me on with such a warm welcome and a great shock. But Kevin, thank you so very much for the opportunity to speak to your members of your crew.
You're welcome.
And my name is Anika Omproy. I happen to be a politician, representing a state house district. And I'm here to have a conversation with you, Kevin. So let's talk.
Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to chit chat.
But you told me it was my show, so now I'm directing it.
Well, you see, there you go. I like how you take over because it's your thing. I like how you take over. Cool. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that because you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do.
I'm just joking. Just joking.
All right. So the name. First of all, we need to find out who it is that has taken over my broadcast tonight, and with you and I having a chit chat yesterday, we met on the bar talk set yesterday, and what an excellent time that was. For those of you who missed it, that's not a problem. Go to Moment to Remember on Facebook, or you can go to Jamaicans.com and just put in Anika Omproy's name in the list in the search, or put in bar talk in the search, and you'll find yesterday's presentation of Bar Talk, which was live yesterday. Now, today, Anika has a little bit more time and a little bit more of a free license to share of who she is and some of her concerns, because as a politician and a state representative, you have some concerns with this upcoming election.
I have concerns with what is taking place in our state and in our country and in this world. We are in some really critical times, and I don't have to say that, but because people know it. They can
Mm-hmm.
feel it. They can feel the recession that's taking place at this time. The interesting
Yes.
part, Kevin, is I got sworn in on November 22nd, 2018 to becoming a state rep for House District 95. There are 120 state house seats in the state of Florida. We each represent about 160,000 people. Together, we represent all the 20 plus million people in the state of Florida. And not to get too political, but I'm going to give you something that the Speaker of the Florida House gave us on our last day of my first term as a representative. He gave us all gavels,
Mm.
and inscribed on the gavel is each one of us together make up the state legislature, because the Speaker of the House has a gavel and
Right.
he's the one that keeps the order. But when he gave us that token, what he was saying to us, that while he's the one that holds the gavel, each one of us make that gavel pound. There's
Right.
no gavel for him without all of us. And it takes me back to the fact that there is no country, there's no United States, there's no world without all of us playing our part.
Indeed.
And sometimes people take things for granted, or they think they're not significant enough to play a role. And it's always amazing to me when people are like, um, they're in awe of me,
Mm.
and I'm just doing the task that I was sent here to do.
Right.
And we all have a task. And each task takes each one of us playing our particular role to the best of our abilities. I have a job that I signed up for. Granted, I love it. It plays right into all of my skill sets. It makes me happy to do the work of the people in my community. But everybody in this community plays a role. So I just wanted to say that
Mm-hmm.
people think that politicians are horrible, right? And in truth and in fact, politicians are the stewards of the wealth within a community. How it's distributed, how it's gathered in, that's what we do. We protect, um, and in some instances, we provide,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
But what do we do in the middle of a recession and a pandemic and a moral issue? We have a major moral issue. We have a people issue in this country at this point in time. And I'm not quite sure how we fix it, but I've gone on a journey with myself to figure out how to be the best me I can possibly be.
That's
Because
a good start.
it's really easy, as you know, Kevin, to point a finger at somebody else and say, Lord, Kevin, why you can't do this way, Kevin? It's so easy, Kevin. Just do it.
Right.
It's really hard to look at Anika and tell Anika that she needs to do something differently, because I can fix Kevin all day, right?
Right.
Easy. I don't have to do the work. I just tell Kevin what to do. But it's really difficult to fix Anika. So I've been working really hard on, one, taking care of my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And that means taking the time to acknowledge and do the things that bring me joy. So I have three beautiful nieces. I don't have any children of my own, but God has granted me three amazing, wonderful little people. I
Oh.
have a 12-year-old niece who thinks she's still a fairy princess. I don't know why. She twirls all day long, but she is so emotionally in tune with everybody else that she knows how to light up a room.
Mm.
I have a 6-year-old niece who is brilliant, was brilliant from the moment she opened her mouth. Um, and she's shy, she's an introvert, and she hates people laughing at her. But I'm trying to teach her that sometimes we're not laughing at her, we're laughing with her, because she's very entertaining. So
Right.
now she's like, Antonika, I know you're laughing at me because I'm entertaining. And
There you
she
go.
is. And she is. And then I have a brand new niece who was born in the middle of COVID.
Oh,
And
wow.
I didn't get a chance to actually touch her until after my election because I was afraid of getting her sick.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she is 5 months and she just learned how to pull herself up and stand. We are amazed by her
What?
determination. 5 months, she can pull herself up and stand, Kevin, and look at us above her crib. We have to lower the crib, okay? That is what's taking place with my
Wow.
with my three cool nieces. So, anyways, back to what I was trying to say. So I make sure I make time to hang out with them because they bring me back balance. The 12-year-old challenges me, but I have to remind myself she's not me and that I can't tell her how to fix herself, right? That she has to figure things out for herself. And my one of my words of wisdom to her recently is, "You're 12, but in about 6 months you'll be 13, and in about 6 months after that you'll be going to high school. You know,
Mm.
so you don't have time to twirl around here and TikTok all over the place. You actually need to figure out what your hobby is and what do you think you want to do with your life." Because at this point in time, I need you to be thinking something, right?
Mm.
um, the 6-year old who paints and draws and comes up with songs and writes poetry. It's amazing to watch her. But then I also have to remind myself she's a kid. And so what I do with her most of all is play, right? Because
Right.
she's so focused. And then the baby, she just amuses me because she just watches everything. And I'm just trying to make sure that she doesn't grow up in a world where she has to deal with the issues that I have to deal with as a Black woman, as a child of
Mm.
immigrants, first generation American. Um, yeah, it's a whole lot of stuff. But anyways, I'm rambling now.
Oh, no, no.
Um,
Because you are leading us. What you're doing is painting a picture of who Anika is. And in that, it takes me to try to get to the beginning of where Anika is. You mentioned being the child, an immigrant, for one, and the child of immigrant parents, first generation American. So I know that you're a child of the Caribbean, and
mhm.
I chose to phrase it that way because your story is really interesting, which I learned yesterday. But for the listeners on Reggae Global Radio, One Harmony Radio, WGLRO, PEMG TV, ClintonLindsay.com, and KevinStew.com, who is Anika? What makes you a child of the Caribbean? What is your
Uh,
story?
so I'm actually currently writing my story, and it's called Bound. And sometimes people look at bound as you being stuck in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And another way to use bound is you're in a direction towards something, right?
Mm.
And another thing is you're grounded, you're bound by the people who have brought you here. So I am the first child in my family born in this country on both sides. I am the oldest and only granddaughter on both sides.
Mm.
I played flag football, Jamaican, English, British football. I I danced, tap, ballet, jazz. I'm a debater, an award-winning debater.
Oh,
Um,
look at you.
which most people think I'm an attorney, but it's really the 7 years of debate. So,
Ah.
uh, yeah. So, anyways, just because of how I deliver a conversation, they're like, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "No clue." Um, my family is is a it's quite interesting how they raised me. Like, I guess I was raised in a manner where I was always able to communicate my likes, my dislikes, and my wants. Um, and I think I realized later on in life, I would say probably as a teenager, that that was not normal for most Caribbean children, right? Don't get me wrong, I got beatings like everyone else, and my mom at times, I think, um, used a lot of reverse psychology on me. I'll tell you one of these days about her theory on room arrest. Um, so my mom uh, was an unconventional mother in a lot of respects. And that was probably why and my father also. My mom was raised Seventh-day Adventist. My father chose to be a Rastafarian, and they had me. So,
Wow.
can you imagine the two things their religion agree upon, right? Eat no pork and no scavengers of the sea, right?
Right.
Um Conservatism, like being conservative was definitely a plus, right? But that was about where they went in opposite directions. I got baptized twice. My mom snuck to baptize me the
Mm.
first time. My father found out about it and made my mom baptize me again while he was there.
Oh,
So
wow.
anyways, long story short, I am a third generation. I come from a third generation, three generations on both sides of service to country, right? So on my father's side, my grand aunt received an Order of Distinction from Jamaica the year I was born, which was 1978. Her son became an elected official in New York, my cousin. He's my father's first cousin. And that would be how the three generations rolls on my father's side. On my mother's side, my grandmother's first cousin was the mayor of our township in Jamaica, and then my aunt is a former representative for House District 95 and the current mayor of the city of Lauderdale Lakes. And then you have me. So I grew up in a family that was, like I said, built on service. Oh, and by the way, my aunt, Mayor Rogers, received her Order of Distinction from Jamaica this year, um, August 2020.
Yes.
So I come from a family of service, and so what I saw growing up was us doing everything from moving chairs and picking up garbage to helping people figure out how to file their citizenship papers. My grandaunt on my father's side received an Order of Distinction for redoing the midwifery system in Jamaica. Her name was Gwendolyn Omproy Spencer. She never got rid of her maiden last name, and I thank her for that
It's a
because I can
unique
always tell.
name.
It is Gwendolyn Umfroy Spencer. Yes. Um, but she actually redid the midwifery system in Jamaica and is one of the founding members of Jamaica's midwifery system, like their
Oh,
whole association. And she was a president, if I'm not mistaken, of the nursing association for a period of time. My other grand aunt on my mother's side is currently the head nurse in Jamaica.
oh, wow.
So yeah, I know. Sometimes I forget those things. But anyways, long story short, service is what we do. But in being that type of a family, sometimes you get lost in the shuffle because you're so busy doing for other people that you forget to do for yourself. And
Mm.
so I'm on a journey of making sure I do what's right for me. I
Right.
sit in the Florida House, or I sat in the Florida House on 4 committees. I was the ranking member on civil justice, which is the committee that deals with all your laws that are non-criminal. The ranking
Okay.
Democrat on that. As a freshman, it was very interesting because I definitely didn't want to be the ranking Democrat on anything. I just wanted to learn the process. But, anyways, my leadership decided otherwise. I sat on agriculture appropriation. What most people don't realize is that agriculture is the second largest economic engine in the state of Florida and has the second largest budget. It's $1 billion situation. And I think we don't give enough to uh, the fact that farmers are actually scientists and are probably the first inventors because they had to figure out a whole lot of things and create things to make sure that they were
Indeed.
able to feed the people in their community.
Yep.
So I have people are like, how did you end up on this farming committee, this agricultural committee? Well, one of the things that's interesting is my great grandfather was a farmer, and in Jamaica. And then my cousin, my father's first cousin, actually taught at the University of West Indies, and he taught on how to keep tropical fruit stabilized as it went to its destination, how to keep it from, aging on us in transport. So anyways, and he's a farmer.
Huh.
So so there is my love of farming. And I also sit on agricultural policies and health market reform. So, a couple of things that were interesting this year on health market reform. The fact that your pharmacist can test you for COVID-19 is something they would not have been able to do had we not passed that law this year. If we had not passed it, you wouldn't have that as a possibility in the middle of our COVID-19 situation.
Mm,
Um,
that's interesting.
also, also telehealth. That was not something that you were able to do in Florida. To be able to talk to medical professionals in Washington, D.C., if you need a specialist in California, you weren't able to do that via telehealth, but now you can. And that was also something I was able to see take place in my first 2 years of being an elected official. And I'm open to any other questions you have because I will, I have adult ADHD, so I'll ramble.
Hey, listen, I told you before, it's your show. I'm just facilitating it. So people are learning who Anika Omproy is. And
Mm,
it,
I think
it's,
I'm telling them
it's,
a little too much.
well, it beats them starting
Assuming.
to formulate their own stories. Yes, creating that
Hmm.
assumption and then telling somebody else and then someone else because they believe who that person is. They trust who that person is and whatever information that they present to them, that now becomes, hey, I heard she is. Somebody that knows her says she is. But no, this is different.
It's true. You're correct. Um, Something people may not know is I had my own talk show for 2 years on a network called America. It was
Hmm.
called The Mix Talk Show. And
See, this is right in your wheelhouse.
oh yeah, I had a radio show on 1170 for a bit.
Yeah.
And that was fun. I enjoy talking to people and interviewing them. I don't like being interviewed, but but um, so I have a little bit of TV and radio background, and it's it helps me in what I do as a politician, but it's definitely different as an elected official. There's a thing, how regular individuals have uh, the assumption of some kind of privacy. People can't take your picture and just put it wherever they want, right?
Right, right.
People can take my picture and sell it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like so super interesting. I actually went online one day and Googled myself and I saw my picture for sale. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. But what I've also realized is that I'm not allowed, well, your privacy when you're a public servant is not necessarily well, I can't say you don't have any privacy, but your public life is something that is open grounds for people to dissect if you allow them to. So if anybody's out there thinking or wanting to go into um, public life or public servants, become public servants, as far as in an elected role, don't put anything out there to the world that you don't want them to come after. So I do not post my nieces' names. And I rarely put up pictures of them because while I have chosen to be an elected official, they have not. Um, People are like, well, does she have a significant other? I literally have met people who have told me that they know me and that's why they need to be let into an event that I'm hosting. Literally, I'm at the door and someone will say to me, I'm friends with Anika and you have to let me in.
Mm.
Meanwhile, it's me at the door, but they don't realize it. And it's like the most interesting thing because I'll let them keep talking about how they know Anika so well. And then I'll go, by the way, I'm Anika Omproy and I don't know you. And it's so interesting the things that people will say. I've actually watched a video where in a meeting with the hospital district, someone actually used my name and said that I was going to vote against them receiving a contract. And I'm
See,
like, first of all, I never even said that. Second of all, can they do that? um, so it has its really cool points, but the most interesting thing for me, or the thing that always throws me for a loop, is that okay, most of the people who are Caribbean American who have been elected to state offices actually went from city government, city council, or municipal government, city government, and then went to county government or state government. I am probably the oddity within our Caribbean American community that went directly to the state house. So when you serve in city government, you're here all the time. You're on your community's TV every 2 weeks because you have city commission meetings, or you're on everyone's TV every 2 weeks because you have county commission meetings, and you're based here. I
right.
am away from home a minimum of 120 days a year. 60 of those days, I am not supposed to leave Tallahassee unless I'm coming home for a district related event. So,
Wow, we didn't know. I didn't know that.
yeah. So people are like, oh, we can never see her. That's because I'm not here. um, and sorry, I have to laugh because I
As
love
is required by your job to not be
by
here.
my job, I cannot be here. I have to be in Tallahassee, which is 7 hours away. Um, and for me, the interesting part is that I got elected to office in November of 2018. I started session in March. So my first year, I was I my first year ended, my first session ended in May, right? In May of 2019. I come home. I'm home May, June, July, August, September. I'm back in Tallahassee again to start my next term, my next session. So I wasn't even home to be able to have a major conversation with anyone.
Right.
And people are like, where was she? Well, I represent 160,000 people and a portion of 7 cities. And I was home for 4 months before I had to head right back up to go back into session again. And we start session early during an election year. So for a first time representative, um, and I'm not complaining, but the reality is I was actually away from home 220 days.
You counted them?
I had to. Had to. You don't miss it because you're not in your own bed. You count them. You know. You don't
Wow.
get to see your own pillow, your own bed for that portion of time. I'm a part-time state representative. So that means I also have to hold down a different form of employment in order to navigate through, because the state elected officials, your state representatives and your senators, are paid a part-time wage of $29,000 and change. There's some change in there. And so, as you well know, living in Florida, especially South Florida, $29,000 doesn't go very far.
True.
Uh, so we do get reimbursed for travel up to Tallahassee and back. And during session, we are given a housing stipend to pay for our accommodations in Tallahassee, which, if you want to talk about price gouging, they price gouge us while we're there.
Because you're
for the two,
politicians.
because we're politicians, and for those 60 days, they're going to get their money's worth out of us, right?
Oh yeah. Because
So yeah,
the mindset is that politicians don't,
make a
well,
lot
they
of
get
money.
everything and for free and they make a lot of money.
Well, let me just tell you, I'm not allowed to accept any gift over $100 without having to report it.
So you can accept 10 gifts of $100, right?
No, I cannot accept 10 gifts of $100. If you gave me 10 gifts of $100, right? I would have to add it all up and report that you gave me $1,000. I don't get anything for free. You know who gets the perks? Everybody else around me. Because I can't get any. I can't
Wow.
even give an award to people who volunteer in my office for them volunteering. I can't give them a pen or pin, nothing. I have to pay for that out of my own pocket, if I so choose to do so. So it's really interesting. Your state elected officials, meaning your state senators and your state representatives in the state of Florida, um, make $29,000 to do the business of the state. We manage a $92 billion budget, and about 40% of the state legislators, there's 160 of us, there are 40 senators and 120 state reps. 40% of us are millionaires.
So they can
We
afford to do that.
Right, but what happens is, with us only being given such a small pay, it locks out everyday working class and middle class people from being able to be a part of the process. You either have to be independently wealthy, a business person, or extremely poor to run for the state house.
Huh. So, well, then that would make the state house pretty much well represented if those who are dirt poor can actually get in.
The question is, you being, let's say, someone who makes the minimum wage, running for the state house then would be $29,000 as a part-time job. Sounds amazing, right?
Yes.
But the actions in actually running for office take up so much of your time that you wouldn't be able to work any other job. So how would you keep a roof over your head?
Mm.
Uh-huh. And then if you work a normal salary job, how do you then tell them that you're going to be gone for 120 days out of the calendar year?
Mm.
Do you see now the issues? So that
Yeah.
is why I believe we need to make some changes in regards to that. This year, we passed pay raises for all the state employees, because our state employees have not gotten a proper pay raise since we hit the first recession that I remember properly, which took place in 2008. At that time, the state legislature also rolled back their pay by like 1,000 and change, and it's never been changed. But we gave pay raises to all the state employees, which included your cabinet members, the governor, the commissioner of agriculture, the CFO, the attorney general. Everybody got a pay raise. But because of how the state constitution is written, state legislators don't fall under that portion of state employees. So we did not get a pay raise. Now, I think that
Where
my colleagues did not give us a pay raise because they would like to keep the state legislature the way it is, which is predominantly male, predominantly white male. And yeah, there
predominantly
goes the
wealthy.
trickiness. Predominantly wealthy.
So it really creates a country club of sorts in our legislator.
Correct.
Now,
Now, I have, yeah,
that's a
correct.
concern. That's a concern for little people like me.
It should be.
Because that only says legislature is looking out for friends and colleagues, those who sail in the same type of boats as them, whether it
But
be
we
literally or figuratively.
Correct. But this is the thing. Can you blame them for representing what they know? It's not really their fault, because when I go to Tallahassee, I represent what I know, right?
Right.
The issue at hand is not that they don't care about everybody else. Everybody else's reality is not theirs. They're
Mm.
not mean, they're not horrible, they're not crass. I've only been harassed by by my Democratic colleagues, not by any of my Republican colleagues, to say the least.
That's
But
interesting too.
it is very interesting. So what I can say is that though we come from different walks of life, some of my colleagues are cattle farmers. Some of my colleagues never graduated from high school. They're millionaires. I mean, they graduated from high school but never went to college. They're millionaires, though. They're businessmen. They're brilliant in their particular discipline.
Right.
Um, and what I've had to do in Tallahassee is just to explain the importance of my community. My district is considered the Caribbean American district of the state of Florida. I have the largest Caribbean American population in my district in the entire state. Now, there are other districts that have large Haitian populations, but mine is a mixed district. I have a majority of my district is Black and immigrant.
Right.
I do have 17% Hispanic population. And majority of my Hispanic population is Caribbean Hispanic and Central and South American. No, Central American. So I have a lot of Panamanians and Venezuelans and Colombians in my district. I don't have as many Cuban Americans in my district, even though I do have a Cuban American mayor in the city of North Lauderdale. So it's actually quite an interesting mix. It's not a majority of one particular group. So so anyway, so I go to Tallahassee and I wear the hat of all my population, right? Because I feel like I'm a good Haitian American, Jamaican, Trinidadian, Guyanese, and Bahamian are the largest groups within my district. I do have, like I said, it's a good mix of Caribbean American people.
Right.
So when I go to Tallahassee,
what area is District 95?
Okay, sorry. It's the city of portion of the city of Sunrise, Lauderdale Lakes, Lauderhill, North Lauderdale, Tamarack, Margate, Sunrise, and Plantation. I think I've said Sunrise twice. Let me make sure I go through this again. It is kind of late. You have me up past my bedtime. So I have Lauderdale Lakes, Lauderhill, North Lauderdale, Tamarack, Margate, Sunrise, and Plantation. So I have a portion of those 7 cities. And I have my district begins at once you cross over 441 on Sunrise Boulevard. And then I go all the way to Southgate. I push up in certain areas. Like, it's kind of interesting because I don't go all the way to University in some areas. And in some areas, I go all the way to Pine Island.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite tricky. But I love my 7 cities. And I love the people within those 7 cities because I believe I'm a direct reflection of the community that raised me.
What makes you that reflection? And I have a couple of questions on Facebook, and I'm gonna ask those on Facebook to jump on over to kevinstew.com. But before you answer that question, let me touch on a couple of these. I won't be able to touch on all of them. Let me touch on a couple of these and then say sayonara to those on Facebook Live and ask you to jump on over to kevinstew.com to continue the rest of the broadcast. I don't usually go this long, but I'm so caught up with you right now. You're so intriguing.
Thank you.
One of the questions was, what would you do different in combating COVID-19? What work? The question, I'm going to read it verbatim. What work she do different from what Trump is doing?
So interestingly enough, I sat on the Florida Reopen Task Force on COVID-19. And I am the only woman, the only Black person, the only Democrat, and the only freshman to be asked to serve on that committee out of the 160 legislators.
There's something interesting about that.
I know.
The whole Florida Reopen thing. It's I'm confused to say the least because, of course, I have my own opinions about it. Blessings, Cujo. All right, you guys over on Facebook, continue listening on kevinstew.com. I gotta bounce off of Facebook. Um, Catch y'all later on.
So, what was interesting to you about, and then I'll tell you a little bit about it.
So the whole idea that the numbers were going down, but not yet at a place where it was comfortable. It seemed comfortable enough to be reopening
Hmm.
the state,
Hmm.
schools, bars, um, recreation, and such. But yesterday we did it, and now the numbers are skyrocketing all over again.
So let me give you a little bit of a breakdown. One,
Mm-hmm.
South Florida was treated differently than any other part of the state. And what people need to realize is that we have 67 counties in the state of Florida. And not all these 67 counties were hit with major caseloads, right? We, I believe, in South Florida were hit with what we were hit with because we are an international, we're a port,
All right.
airport, international hub,
Mm-hmm.
right? So Palm Beach has an international airport, they have a port. Miami-Dade has an international airport, they have a port. Broward has an international airport, and we have a port, right? So what the governor did, which is interesting, is that he allowed those three counties to decide how they would like to reopen. He didn't make the decisions for them. However, my three counties in South Florida have decided to make it all look like the governor did it. And
Mm.
for me, I have a problem with that. But let me take you back to the Reopen Task Force. What it was to do was to have ideas about how we think things should work. And he chose 8 people from the state legislature. So you have 160 people, 60 people, and he chose 8. He chose the Speaker of the Florida House. He chose the Senate President. And those are the two gentlemen they were gentlemen at this time. That's why I'm saying gentlemen who run those two bodies. He chose the incoming Speaker of the Florida House and the incoming Senate President. He chose the appropriations chair for the Senate, and that's the person who decides how the $92 billion budget is navigated through or has to do the hard work of navigating through the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And then the appropriations chair for the Florida House. He chose the who also has to do the same thing as the Senate president. Those two have to agree or the budget does not happen, right?
Mm.
And then once they can't take it any further, then it goes up to the Senate president and the Speaker of the Florida House to battle it out, right? Um, if the Senate passes a law and the House does not, it doesn't become law. Vice versa. If the House passes a law and the Senate does not, it does not become law. So we have to agree 100% on the budget or it doesn't happen. And the state goes into critical uh, state if we do not agree on it. And then he chose the chair of the House Ethics Committee, and he chose me, the ranking Democrat on civil justice, who happens to serve on both ag appropriations committees. I was asked to sit on ag, health market reform, ag health, and professional services working group.
Mm-hmm.
And those happen to be the committees I served on. Right, I sit on civil justice, which deals with the laws in the state that are not criminal.
Right.
I sit on health market reform. Happen to be the only Black person to sit on that committee. Um, and then I sat on both agricultural committees, ag appropriations and ag policies. So I help write the laws, and then I manage the budget. So when I got asked to serve on the committee, I was like in complete shock, first of all, right?
Mm.
Um, I got the phone call from the governor and I thought it was a recording telling me an update on COVID-19. That's what I thought it was.
Mm.
And then he said, "Will you serve?" And I said, "It would be my honor to serve on behalf of the people of Florida." Now,
Wow.
this is the interesting part. The interesting part is we were there to look at ideas. We were there to look at the data that we had and make suggestions. We were together for about a week, and mind you, we're virtual, so we have to have these meetings virtually.
Right.
Different type of a movement. We had experts from different disciplines on there also, and it was open to public conversation. Out of that meeting, we all proposed things. I talked to my hospitals, I talked to my medical doctors, I talked to the nurses, I talked to firefighters, I talked to police officers, I talked to people in leadership roles, and I talked to everyday people about what they thought was best, right? And then I proposed my report. And my report in, and it's public record,
Mm-hmm.
was to not reopen until we had enough personal protective gear for the hospitals and enough personal protective gear for the other medical professionals who needed to go out to work.
Right.
I also asked for my part of town to be governed differently. Now, what the governor decided was that South Florida was a special area because we got hit the hardest and we needed to have a little bit more control than maybe the other 60. There's 67 counties, so the other 64 counties did. And he would have a meeting every week with the different county mayors and talk to them about where they were at, and how things were running. I do believe that Miami-Dade, Broward County, and West Palm Beach should have opened up way later than they did.
Right.
I believe that Broward County should have mandated a mandatory mask ordinance.
Mm-hmm. And still should still do. I find it crazy that you are told to go into a restaurant with a mask, but it's okay to.
Put me on.
One second. You're asked to wear a mask going into a restaurant, but you can't. You can take off the mask when you're in the restaurant, but walking into the restaurant, you must wear a mask. Why have the restaurant open at all? All right, so and I understand there are some economic
Major
considerations
economic, yeah.
to be taken to.
When I got to Tallahassee in November of 2018, there was a pre-meeting with the Legislative Black Caucus, and we had an economist come in and talk to us, right?
Right.
So I'm a member of the state's Legislative Black Caucus. The Legislative Black Caucus is comprised of 23 House members. There's 23 Black people in the Florida House at the time, and 6 senators. And there's a meeting that we have before every session to discuss the issues that are facing Black people and the state. And we were told in that meeting that a recession was going to hit in 2021, right? We knew that with the closing down of the federal government for the period of time that closed down, that would speed it up. So we knew that if there was a recession that was going to take place that was going to hit white America, that it was going to hit Black America in 2019. Right? You would start to see the effects of it in 2019. If you want to know how the world is going, talk to your working class friends about what's taking place and what they're seeing. That's how you'll know what's taking place with the economy on one part, right? When it's going bad, talk to your working class friends. Middle class people never know what the hell's going on because no matter what, they're carrying the burden, right?
Right.
Working and middle class people carry the burden, but working class people feel the hits first, right?
True.
And if you want to know if your economy is about to start opening up again and when to start making money moves, you have to talk to your wealthy friends because they can tell you when the money starts to run. So it's a good thing to have friends at all portions. Right. Unfortunately, for middle class people, it's not so fun because we never know what the hell is going on.
No,
we just keep working. But anyways, I was trying to explain. Go ahead, sir. I'm listening, Kevin.
I still want to come back to you being the child of the Caribbean, I haven't forgotten that question that I had
I'm
asked.
trying to avoid it. I'm trying to avoid it.
And I notice
Uh,
that you're giving me everything but that. But I also have
okay.
an interactive show, and
I'm
I
sorry.
do have a phone line that individuals can call in on 773-789-STEW. That's 773-789-7839. And I already have someone on the line, although I didn't give out the number yet because
Okay.
I was so wrapped up in hearing you.
Can I answer that gentleman's question though? What
Go
I
ahead.
did in my district was I made sure that we had a rotating COVID-19 testing center. While my district cities represent 28% of Broward County's population, we made sure that by having a rotating testing center and access to a testing center within the district, that the numbers within my district, a Caribbean American district, an immigrant based district that works in the service industries, in your hospitals, in your hotels, how I kept my community safe was ensuring that they had access to free testing. The other thing I did was make sure that I got 90,000 masks. I represent 180,000 people. I got 90,000 masks shipped into me to give out in my community.
Mm.
And I did a mask giveaway in each one of my cities. And what I was able to do by making sure I was that active and the mayors within those cities being active, we were able to keep our percentage at 14% COVID-19 rate. Now, naturally, we should be at 28% because we're 28% of the population, but we never made it to that. We're at 14 still to this day.
Mm.
So it's under the count for other people's parts of town.
And you mentioned knowing how many people are in your area. This is where the census is important.
And we didn't fill it out enough. So those numbers are going to be off again.
Jeez, boy.
Jesus. My people, my people.
On the line, yeah,
Sorry.
our people. On the line, hello.
Hello.
I welcome you to the night shift. Not that you need much of a welcome. Once anybody hears this voice, most of them recognize it. My own massage therapist. Thank you very much. What's going on?
I have just been just fuming at the bits, just trying to get on. And by the way, Representative Omproy, as I stated before, I thank you for sharing your story. During the primaries, I did my research and I voted for you. So I just want to say thank you for what you're doing. And being a female, a Black female of Caribbean origin, I know that you have my best interests at heart. So first of all, I want to say thank you for what you have done, what you're doing, and what you will continue to do for my community.
Thank you so very much. It's very rarely I get a chance to actually talk to my community. And just know that every time I step into that building, I try my best to be the best representation of our community. And at times I have to be a diplomat because if I go up there and I war with them, I don't get any resources for us.
I totally
Yeah.
understand that because I was having this conversation with a colleague of mine earlier today, and I happen to work for the local school district, and I'm always in defense of our superintendent, and people call him a sellout. They think that he just, he just does whatever the board wants him to do, and my conversation was that, listen, he has to work for the best interest of the majority, which is the students, just like you have to work for the best interest of the majority. You can't just work for me. You can't just work for my community. You have to work for the best interest of all the people that you represent. And once again, I thank you for that.
You're about to make me cry, and I don't cry often. But I want to say to you that I met and honored Robert Runcie, Superintendent Runcie, in 2016. He got an award from the American Friends of Jamaica for his service. He's a brilliant man. And he has the fortunate and unfortunate task of balancing through a very, very, very non-diverse school board. Um,
Yes.
and on top of that, he has to deal with Broward Teachers Union that is not diverse either, as far as their leadership is concerned. So, as you know, being black in this country, of course, also being immigrant in this country, first generation immigrant or immigrant, this man is an Ivy League man, Ivy League graduate, brilliant, and he still
Regardless
has to
of the color of
balance
his
out.
skin
No,
and his nationality, he is up there amongst the
he
ranks
is
of the highest and the most
brilliant.
educated and qualified individual.
He is brilliant. He is
Oh God,
absolutely,
yeah.
totally, completely brilliant. Now,
Yes.
I told somebody once, and this is before I got elected to office, and I have to say that the saving grace in Broward County for Superintendent Runcie happens to be his black community,
Yes.
because we don't rap about him. We
Mm.
had years of that other superintendent and those other people who robbed us, okay, robbed us. Um, and he had to come in and clean it up, and he has to navigate through the rules and regulations that are laid down before him from the state of Florida and laid down before him before that by the school board. So he has two levels of things he has to navigate through, and
And
it's
I'm
still
I'm I'm going to push it
amazing
one
that
step
he's able
further.
to.
He not only has to answer to the state and the school board, he has his students and his parents
He
that
does,
he is responsible for. So I would
and the
take it one
teachers
step
and the support
further.
staff.
And the teachers plus me,
I
who
don't
is
know.
an employee. And
I don't
and
know how
and
he
I'm
don't
like,
gray up.
I I really don't know how he does it, but he does what he does for
He
the
does.
best interest of everybody involved. So my question to
100%.
you, and not necessarily my question. I'm not, and trust me, I am not putting you out there. I'm just calling in to express my views. And the governor of the state, who I have to center myself when I speak, because I honestly do not think that he has the best interest of the constituents of the state of Florida in mind when these decisions are made. You're looking at Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County as the three largest counties in the state with the highest infection rate, and he's going to base his decision to reopen the state to on what is what I'm trying to understand. And I'm going to use this as an example. I'm a huge sports fan. And thank God that the owner of the Miami Dolphins, which I am a diehard Dolphins fan, did not listen to him when he says to go ahead and open up that stadium seats 70,000 fans on an average game day. So he wants everything open at 100%. Yes, I understand the economic impact that it has had on
On the state.
um, on the workers of the state, and there are individuals that rely on their jobs. I'm one of those people. Fortunately enough, I did not have to take time off from work because even though I'm not considered an essential worker, I am still out there behind the scenes working for the school district to make sure that students are being safe because the governor and the state decided that schools needed to reopen way earlier than they needed to. And where do we see most of the cases that are spiking? From the school district. You have in our community, we know that we our Caribbean community, we have children, mother, grandparents, great
Grandmother.
grandparents
Hmm.
living under
Four
the same
generations.
roof.
4 generations. Hmm.
Yes, we have generations living under the same roof. And
Hmm.
when those kids go out there, they are coming back home. I just had to today share a story with a very close friend of mine, lost an 82-year-old matriarch of his family who has no underlying circumstance, no underlying illnesses, but her grandkids and her great grandkids were forced to go back to school. One of them contracted the virus and came home, and she passed away this weekend. 82-year-old matriarch of a family who has never had any underlying illnesses.
But
But the children went out. They were forced to go back to
I
school
don't have to
and
go back
came
into the
home
schools.
with the illness, and
So
she
this,
passed away. And it's due to COVID related. It's due to a COVID related illness.
I have to say that it's sad for me to hear that, because I grew up in a multi-generational family, like, so mom and dad downstairs, me and grandma upstairs, when I lived in New York. So I am my grandmother, who's 90's primary caregiver. My other grandmother is 90 also, and she lives in the city of Lauderdale Lakes, and so does my other grandmother, right? I am sorry to hear the passing of that matriarch, because I know what it's like to have a matriarch, or to have matriarchs.
Yes.
Mm.
Um, and I have to say a couple of things. There's a whole lot of blame that gets placed on Governor DeSantis, right? And I'm not saying that some of it is not his fault. But are you aware of the fact that Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach were allowed to open at the pace that they thought was fit? He did not tell Broward County to reopen. Broward County sent a letter to the governor's office and said, "We are ready to reopen." He did not tell them to reopen. Now,
Understood.
this okay, so we have to lay some blame on our county government, because they too are feeling the effects of what's taking place on a financial end, right? I'm in these meetings, I hear the foolishness, and I get really ticked off also. One of the things that bothers me greatly is that if Broward County had just waited and not succumbed to the pressures of the city of Fort Lauderdale and the larger municipalities forcing their hand, we would be in a different spot. Thank you for
However,
voting for me. Thank you for voting for me. But what I want to say is, they have a portion of that burden to carry.
Mm.
I understand what you're saying in reference to the schools, but had Broward County held off on reopening and taken its time, the schools wouldn't have reopened the way they did. I'm just going to give
However,
you,
what are these superintendents supposed to do when the state comes down and said, if you
but
don't
that's
reopen,
because we
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 are
we
going
open,
to
but
withhold federal funds?
we reopened everything else. So why can't the schools reopen? It's our
Mm.
fault.
Yeah.
Broward County should not have reopened a god darn thing. They should have kept only essential things open. We opened up everything. The beaches are open. The this is open. So the man will watch everything open, and the man say, "Yo, we have to open up everything." Then, if you can open up all the recreational stuff, how can you not open the schools?
However,
Some of that burden lays
no,
with
I
Broward
and I
County.
understand. I understand. However,
And you
when
also have to
when
remember
you are,
that
I'm sorry. Go
there's
ahead.
an
Go ahead.
executive order, right? An emergency executive order still in place, right? With his executive order, he told Broward County they had to write him a letter stating when they wanted to open. And with the opening of the schools, there are people within Broward County who want their kids back in school.
This is true. I
They
don't know
want
True.
why.
them
I
back in
cannot see
school.
why. I really
I
cannot see why.
listen, my nieces are at the house. Ain't nobody trying to let them go nowhere. But there are people within this county. We forget that there are people within this county who wanted their children back in school. Do I agree with them? No, because my child would not be back in school, because I'd be terrified. Right?
Right.
The kids in my family are not back in school. And it's not because I tell them. My sister-in-law said, "No way, Jose. My cousins, hell no. Um, they didn't want that. However, we have to realize that Broward County has a portion of this blame to carry. 50% to 60% of it is Broward County's administration and its county commissioners that have the hold the burden of it. The other thing that's interesting is there were CARES Act funds that were deposited or given out to the county directly from the federal government. Broward County got its CARES Act money in April. Do you know when Broward County released the CARES Act money to the cities? September, the end of September.
September of 2020 going into
The
October.
end of September. When
So
is somebody going to kick up a rumpus about the fact that Broward County was sitting down on business CARES funds and homeowners, renters, all kinds of stuff it was sitting down on for an entire, let's see, May, June, July, August, September, for 5 months?
you talking some stuff here, no, Anika.
So I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with the schools being reopened. I understand that the governor forced it to take place to a certain extent, but I blame Broward County at least 60% for the foolishness taking place in the first place, because they could have stand firm and not let Fort Lauderdale push them into reopening. Fort Lauderdale pushed them into reopening, and another large municipality did it. I just can't remember which one's. I don't want to call them out.
Right.
Now,
See,
can I ask a really quick question?
Yes.
go ahead.
With the governor being the governor of the state of Florida, not the governor of Broward County, not the governor of Fort Lauderdale, not the governor of any specific municipality,
Governor of the state.
isn't
Mm-hmm.
the state of Florida?
We have 67
within,
counties. We have
isn't it
67
within-
counties. And if only 3 of his counties are heavily hit, you have to remember he also has to balance out the other 67 counties. We are tight
64.
knit here.
Yeah.
There's 64 other counties he has to deal with that are on his case, breathing down his neck.
Right.
It's not just
what
us.
What is the comparison between those other 64 counties with the
They're
3
rural.
largest counties in the
They're
area?
rural. They don't have ports. They're landlocked. They don't have international airports. They are. We got hit the way we got hit because we are zero lot line. We live closer together than they do. We in South Florida, I think, do not have a full grasp of what life is like throughout the rest of the state. Tampa is more like us than other areas, so Tampa felt it a little more difficult. But he opened them up. They didn't have a special situation like we had here in South Florida, right? They were thrown out to the wolves early, right? Because when he opened up, everybody opened up. We were the only ones protected, and I think that we sit here and we throw rocks at him, but in truth and in fact, he's got 64 other counties to worry about, and he gave us the big three, an opportunity to navigate how we saw fit. He did not force anybody to write a letter to him to reopen.
But the bottom line is the state
The bottom
of Florida
line,
still
no. The bottom
still
line
falls
lies
under
with, no.
his
You can't.
governance.
You can't have home rule on one end and then want to tell people they don't want home rule on another. No, it lied with Broward County. I'm not even going to let it ride like that. Broward is to blame. Broward is to blame.
As well as Miami and Palm
Yes.
Beach.
How dare they? They knew this. Listen.
So it comes back to what we talked about earlier.
Home rule.
With
You can't have home rule on one end and then look at the governance. They fight us all the time in Tallahassee. We need home rule. We need home rule. We want to decide this. We want to decide that. The Broward Teachers Union wants to do this. Broward School Board wants to do this. We are our own factors. We govern ourselves. But then whenever, excuse my language, whenever the doo-doo hits the fan, everybody wants to be like, oh, the governor, the governor, the governor. He did not write that letter. Broward County wrote that letter saying we're ready to reopen. And then wrote another letter saying we're ready to go into phase this. When you open up beaches, don't tell me the picnic them can't go a beach and the picnic them can't go to school.
right.
Yeah, you can.
No, ma'am, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Yep, I see. I see what you're saying.
Doesn't work that way. Me still in a quarantine. I don't like leave my yard.
Yep, I get it.
So I hear what
I
you're
don't
saying,
either.
and I hear what you're saying, and I get what you're saying from a perspective of a Broward County resident. But I have to make sure that we do not let uh, Broward County's county commissioners get away with not carrying the burden of their reopening requests, and the administrator deciding that it was more important to reopen because they were forced to by these cities that have major COVID cases and didn't have anybody. There was no the CARES Act fund money. I write letter. I ask questions. Nobody. Oh no, I don't get an answer from Broward County why they were sitting down on the darn money that should have gone out to the community since April. Do you know that the governor got municipal funds in Tallahassee? And I called their office and said, "Hey, we need help here in Broward because they won't release the CARES Act funds." And they were willing to sit there and try to help me figure out how to get the additional CARES Act funds from them until the federal government came out and said you can't have overlapping funds. So I'm going to say to you that I know I have a unique relationship with my governor's office, and one day I'll explain how that all happened. But when I asked for masks for my district, they reach. You know, I don't know any other state representative who got 90,000 masks. I don't know, not one. There's not one other state representative in this entire state of Florida who had a rotating testing center. Me, because I asked for it.
Mm.
I asked
Ask
for
and it
these
shall be
things.
given to you.
Right? And I asked Broward County, why the hell did they write to reopen? Your congressional members in Broward County asked them, why are you trying to reopen? These conversations, these questions were asked. And Broward County told us they had to. I sit on the phone line every single week with the lady in charge, Dr. Thatchy, who's in charge of our health department here in Broward County. I looked at those numbers like a hawk because I served on the Legislative Black Caucus COVID-19 task force also. I lived, breathed those numbers beforehand. And when I heard we were writing letter, I asked why and who were they trying to kill off?
Mm.
So,
So
my
it's not
question is,
even, it's my question to you is, do you realize that it is not the governor who reopened Broward?
Here's the thing.
I have to think about that. But my question is,
I didn't even know that was how it went down.
That's
Where
how it went down.
because my take on it was that the governor said, okay, these places can open up because these are the cash cows of the state.
Nope, he did not. He told Broward County, Miami-Dade County, and Palm Beach County to write their letters if they needed or felt they were ready to reopen.
so
He
under
can't veto that. He can't overrule that.
that I understand. Whose decision was it to withhold
The
federal
CARES Act
funds
money,
Yeah.
from
that was your county
certain
administration.
municipalities if they did
Nope.
not reopen? Where did that
now,
come
listen,
from?
that situation with the CARES, it's not CARES Act fund they were going to keep away from you guys.
No,
That's
no,
not what
no,
they
no,
were
no,
doing.
no, not.
No, no.
I am not talking about CARES Act. I am talking about
Oh, the threat.
the funds that are in every
Yes.
legislative years. Certain
Mhm.
funds are allocated
Comes to
certain
the
municipalities,
school districts.
and
Yes.
with the school district,
Mhm.
they
But
they
but
receive
I have
X
to
amount of
lead you
funds.
back. I have to lead you
Whose
back to
decision was that?
no, but I have to lead you back to how it started. If the county had not reopened, then you would not have been forced to be put in that situation. I'm just telling you, it's a domino effect. It's like I bleach my hair blonde and then I don't know why it dropped out.
Mm.
It started with that reopen. We cannot forget the domino effect. We so want to put this blame and burden all on him. It is not. If 50% of it is his, but 50% of it to 60% of it belongs to Broward County. And
Okay.
yes, they strong armed in regards to certain things, and it's not right. And yes, they do that at times. But what's taking place on the other end is they don't live here, right? They're from a different part of the state. They're from the Panhandle. This man came down to Broward County numerous times. He came down here, he drove around, he stopped at restaurants, he looked around. The man was here almost every week. It's not by accident. He was looking to see what was taking place. And he saw us doing the most.
Yeah.
So if you can do the most, you can go to school. And he didn't say everybody has to go back to school. He said they had to be reopened. So parents still had the decision on whether or not they were going to send their kids to school or not.
But
He
what
did
about
not do
those
an executive
parents
order.
who do not
He did,
have
but
the
that
option of keeping their
that
kids at
is,
home?
and I understand that. I get what you're saying in regards to that. And that is the part that affects my district more than anybody else's district in Broward County. I feel like maybe
People have
District
to go to
94
work.
might. People have to go to work, but let's just be aware of the fact that those same parents that have to go to work run the risk of coming home with COVID-19. Every time I
Also.
leave out the door, I run the risk of coming home with COVID-19.
Right.
Where do you
It is
draw the
an
line? Do you
airborne,
go
it is an
out?
air. So this is the thing. I asked the school about whether or not it had the proper filtration systems. I found out that some of the schools within my area recently, I actually found out on Sunday, don't have access to water because they can't use the water fountain. So these kids need bottled water now, right? I don't know if we did enough research in how to do this correctly. I don't know. I haven't looked at the stats because we didn't have our legislative meeting this week to find out what the stats are looking like in regards to the rates within the schools. I do
And
know.
as
I
as a
do
district
know.
employee, I'm
I
sorry. Go ahead and finish. I apologize.
I do know that. I do know that before the kids even went back to school, district employees were coming down with COVID-19. Broward County employees were coming down with COVID-19. City employees were coming down with COVID-19. I can also tell you that I'm in these. Whenever I do go out, I do notice people not social distancing, not wearing their masks, and doing the most because they just feel like they don't have to. And I know we see our white American counterparts on TV doing it the most. But let me just tell you, my district is 59% black. And what I see is us not doing the right thing.
And I see it too, and that's why I choose to stay home. But as an employee,
Mm-hmm.
the when the schools were, and I'm going to say this, and this is not necessarily the consensus of the district. This is
I
just
understand.
me, what I have experienced, because the schools were forced, and I'm using that word very
That's
strongly,
fine.
to open
Mm-hmm.
sooner than, I don't know about Miami-Dade, and I don't know about Palm Beach,
They all got
but
forced. They were all told that they
I,
needed to open.
right, but I didn't know what their timeline was. I only followed Broward. And
They
we had, my department was actually recruited to assist the warehouse department to deliver all of these emergency supplies that needed to get to the school. They couldn't use water fountains, so we had to deliver emergency PPEs that were ordered, water supplies so that students could have access to being hydrated because they can't just walk down the water fountain, walk out to the water fountain. We had to deliver e-misters, and what those are, they're electrostatic misters that the custodial staff uses to disinfect the schools at the end of the day so that the next day the students come in, whatever viruses or whatever was there the day before, they would actually cut down on it. So if everything was done on, or they were able to stay on track with the reopening schedule that they had originally planned, I personally feel like we would not see the spike in numbers that we are seeing right now with the majority of it coming from the schools.
So let me just say this. I feel like I don't sit on any education committees. I'm going to make an open disclosure. I'm not a parent. And I feel as if, and this is me speaking, I would have sued the hell out of the state and not opened if I were the school board.
But
I
what? Okay,
we have we
you're put
have
in a
we,
you're put in a
I have
position where if
no
you
no
don't open,
I'm telling no, but listen to me carefully. We are a donor county to the state of Florida. We in South Florida are the economic engines of the state. And at no point in time should we lose sight of the fact that we are the economic engine of the state of Florida. What would have happened if we told them we're not going back and then we sued them? We have attorneys here in Broward County. We ain't poor in
That's
Broward
true.
County as far as the resources that we have. The school board has something like $1 billion budget. Why do we think we can't sue them? If we
billion
felt
dollar
like
budget, depending on the
we
federal
felt like
funds
we
that are
should.
received from
And
the state.
another thing I need to tell you, Florida is a donor state to the federal government. We give money to the federal government more than the federal government gives us back. And Broward County, Miami-Dade, and Palm Beach are where the money comes from. What would happen if we said we're not doing it? We're not transferring any funds. We're not spending any money. We're not going back. People, we sit here and we act like we have to do anything. We don't. We're
We
actually a donor county. And
understand
we're
where
a
the power
donor
is.
state. That's why I look at these people and I'm confused all the time. I asked Broward County one time why they didn't sue the state of Florida in regards to resources not being allocated correctly to us.
What was the
We
response?
don't want to make them upset. Okay, so you just want to keep getting nothing.
That's crazy. Here it is. We don't understand where, and I don't like doing political shows anymore. We don't understand where the power lies. We have the power. We the little people have the power. We the donors.
Says we the people.
There you
It
go.
is the United States of America. The states hold power. The counties were created. The counties were created by the state, and the cities were created by the state and chartered. However, we cannot dissolve what is already in law constitutionally. We have to go back in and vote to dissolve whatever your powers are, right?
You hit the nail right on the head, which I was about to say.
But let me just say this:
the local level, if we want to see these changes, we need to get out and we need to vote for these changes.
The problem is that we are so short-sighted and don't realize that the biggest vote stays right here with your county administrator and your county elected officials and your city elected officials. They are so busy trying to maintain a balance. And don't get me wrong, you need to maintain a balance. You don't want to piss off the state of Florida. But then again, the state of Florida should have some fears of pissing us off.
Right.
But there are those of us who are so afraid
to
stand up.
Listen, that's why.
Here's my thought.
You want to know why my entire party?
I'm not afraid.
You want to know why? You know why my entire Democratic Party came after me? Because I was not afraid to tell them what I think they're doing incorrect. I had 5 people in charge of Florida House Victory, right? Democratic House Victory. And this particular group does the fundraising and the strategy for gaining more seats. We won 7 seats in the last election cycle in 2018, right? Now, these are seats that were originally Republican seats, and we took them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the incoming leadership did? Because they didn't like the current leader. When he reaches into his second term, what takes place is the incoming leaders take over the budget for House Victory and control for House Victory. They went and fired the 2 black people that actually were the people who made those wins happen. The political strategist and the financial person, a black woman. who has raised
Can I
more
can I may I,
money.
may I interrupt and ask a question?
No, one moment.
Are those
I need,
elected
you
are
need
those
to
elected offices?
no, this is a fundraising arm that is able to raise money so that we gain more seats, so we have more balance in the state house. And what they did was fire those two people, right? And replace them with two white women who didn't have any clue about what the hell they were doing. And that's why we can't take over no additional seats because we didn't raise no darn money. So I spoke out about them firing the two black people and replacing them with two white people. So then I had 5 white people on my team. But 21
Mm-hmm.
of the legislative members who are Democrats are black. So you can thank Representative Bobby DuBose and Representative Evan Jenny for us having a team that was all white. And if we lose those House seats, you can blame them for it. By the grace of
We
God, we
are
got $1
screwed.
million extra dollars, and they're both Broward-based state representatives. By the
Yeah.
grace of God, we were able to get $1 million donation from an outside group to assist us, but they won't even let us touch the money. They're navigating through the money themselves because they don't trust us.
Right.
So,
So my thing is, if you want to get more seats, how the hell are you going to get rid of the people that were able to help you gain them? There's a thing at play right here where we are paying people, the lobbyists, not the lobbyists, the people who are consultants within the Democratic Party. We are paying them to make us lose. Because there's no way that Democrats have been losing for the past 24 years, 23 years we've been losing. Does anybody
No.
realize how stupid that is?
huh.
You have a Broward
It,
Teachers
it
Union
it
that
doesn't make
decided to
sense.
spend, hold on. You have a Broward Teachers Union that decided to spend a whole lot of money fighting me. I haven't done anything to the Broward Teachers Union. I voted for the $500 million in pay raises. I also voted for parents to be able to choose where they would like to send their kids.
Hmm.
Because until we fix this broken school system, why should my children have to be subjected to it being broken? We're not
Right.
fixing it yet. We're moving
And
towards fixing it, but you want my child to suffer. AOC, the proven goddess of all the progressives, right? She signed up her own cousin for a charter school. I don't see anybody frying her, but they fried
nope.
me, right? I speak up and speak out for our community. I
And
can tell you that we need to look at ourselves first. We need to do a
yes, we do.
forensic situation here because let me tell you that you got black people that look like you in office that ain't helping you do crap. Let me just say this.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Do your homework, people.
we
Don't just vote
we
color. Don't just vote
they
because you like
wanted
them.
me out
Yes,
of
yes, yes,
office.
yes.
They wanted me out of office because I don't rap to tell them what we're not going to do and what I don't want to hear about. And why are we not standing firm on things? We can sue the state and win if we have the right documentation as to why. Do you know that he has given us the license? If you can tell him how this percentage of use being adjusted benefits the loss of money to this particular business, you can then restrict the use. We have the right to do that. You have to explain it,
Mm.
but you have the right to do it. How many
You
people
know,
have
and
restricted the rights? How many people have adjusted and done the projects to adjust certain things? Governor
but how many
DeSantis
people
is
know how to do it? How many people know that they have the right to do that? Not very
blame
many,
Well,
you
because we
have
don't
they
have
just
to.
enough people like you who get out there and say, people, this is what we need to do in order to get what we want for our community.
My cities have been suffering. I've had conversations with I have the luxury and the pleasure of having 4 ladies as mayors of 4 of my 7 cities. And I will never forget sitting on a Zoom call with them about what's taking place with the reopening and the effects of what's taking place. And I asked them, I said, I see you guys rolling out your CARES Act stuff, right? And I was like, okay, so you guys finally got your money. And to see the look on those 4 strong, amazing women. And the look of concern and slight terror on their faces because they didn't have the resources necessary to do what they needed to do for their community. And to know my county was sitting down on the funds. Do you know that the state of Florida got some of the money from municipalities that were too small to get their own money? Do you know how quickly they sent their money out? They had their money out to them in April.
Wow.
Why did Broward County sit down on the money? Sent in April. Okay, the additional housing funds were released to Broward County from the state 2 months ago. So when you're sitting, these are things that people don't know about what Governor DeSantis has done, but I know because I hear it and I see it. So everybody wants to burn him up. Don't get me wrong, burn him for the things we need to burn him for. But
I'm one of those people.
But they work. He didn't hold up the people money. Somebody tell me how we sitting in Broward County, Florida, and they sat down on the money. You know the time they had the money from. How is this possible? Why are we not burning them at a stake? People losing their houses. People living in their cars.
Is that information disseminated to the public?
But you know it. I didn't tell you.
No, but see, I do I do my research, and
but
that's one of the things
that I want to share is.
So let me tell you why I didn't say anything. My cities, actually, I said, listen, from June, I said, whenever you're ready, let me know. I'm ready when you are to put them on blast. If you go online to the League of Women Voters website and you read my release about what we should be doing with COVID-19, I distinctly tell the entire public that we need to release the CARES Act fund Broward County has been sitting down on for 4 months. I wrote it so people can read it. Because
we all have access to that information.
It's there. I did not blast because my cities
from going
I did not blast because my cities asked me to wait. Do you know how much money Broward County has given to your 31 municipalities?
Why did they ask you to wait?
Because they didn't want to piss off the county. Nobody wants to piss off the county. And then nobody wants to piss off the state. So what ends up happening is poor people, working people, middle class people, everybody get crushed. Because nobody wants to piss off anybody.
Donnie Walker has a thing that he says, it's better to be pissed off than to be pissed on.
Hey.
And these are the reasons why he would say things like that. It's ridiculous. You don't want to get the state upset, but you're going to you both are Jamaican, so you know the saying, cut off your nose to spite your face.
So you're going to suffer. So let me just say this.
Yeah.
I have a problem. The mayor of Broward County district directly overlaps mine. He represents 7 of my cities. He has 9 cities he represents in total, 2 of which I don't represent. And I don't know how nobody don't fry him for sitting there and not making this money run faster. I don't know. I don't know how there's not any articles about it. I don't know why nobody said anything earlier. And then the money has to be spent by November.
We're in November now.
It goes back to the federal. It goes back to the federal government if it's not spent.
All right.
So somebody tell me.
So where's the benefit of holding on to it?
We're not supposed to talk. I don't know if they were. They said they were afraid of being held responsible if the cities used the funds incorrectly. They only released $100 million to the 31 municipalities to divide up amongst themselves. It's ridiculous. The county only has 15,000 people within it that are not within a municipality. 15,000 people reside in unincorporated Broward County. All the other people, because the county forced the cities to take up as many people as possible into them. 15,000. They would not have gotten those CARES Act dollars if it wasn't for the 1.9 million people in Broward County's municipalities. So while we're talking about Ron DeSantis, I really need us to be talking about Broward County. And I'm probably going to end up on another hit list because of this conversation. But I have to say, your county administration, your county government is Democrats.
And that's one of the main reasons why I called in tonight, is because I had the opportunity to work for the U.S. Census Bureau. And every single day I was out there, I would come home, pardon my language, pissed off, because I would go to people that look like me, people in my community, and explain to them why they needed to complete the census. And there were two top priorities that I would say to them. And trust me, depending on the neighborhood I go in, I'm going to dress and I'm going to look like you and I'm going to talk like you, because I want to resonate with you. Okay, I'm not going to go in the neighborhood and be dressed up and carrying this and looking like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Or that you belong there.
I would go into those neighborhoods, and if I had to wear sneakers and shorts and a T-shirt to fit in, that's what I would do. And I would knock on these doors, and I had doors slammed in my face. I had people call me names, and I am working for the man, and I'm doing this, and I'm like, listen, we do this. And you know what? I didn't even say we. I said, I am doing this because I live in this neighborhood and I want to affect change and I need your help. If you complete this questionnaire, this will allow us to have more representation of people who can go out there and speak for us, because you are not able to go and stand on Capitol Hill and stand and talk to the lawmakers every day, every week, every month, whenever things that affect us come into play. But we can elect officials to do that, and the more of us that respond, then we'll be allowed to have more representation. And these people slammed the door in my face, and I would come home, and there were days when I felt defeated. And I think that you can understand where I'm coming from with this, because of what you're trying to do to affect the bigger good of the community. And you have people who complain about what they're not receiving, but when you go and you present them with opportunities, this is how you can make a change, they slam the door in your face.
I was told by one of the county commissioners that they didn't care about how many resources I brought back to my district. They were not going to support me. And I said to them, why? Oh, you won't kiss the ring and you won't do as I say. Oh. Well, we represent the same people, right? Mm-hmm. And let me just say this. I don't ramp to tell somebody off if I don't like what they're saying. But in that moment, I took in everything that was said to me. Every word, every motion, every notion. Because I needed to remember it so that when they come before me again, because remember, they get their money returned to them from the state. I got a call after the election saying Broward County is going to need your help. Oh, yeah? Well, talk to Barbara Sharif while I asked her why she put $1,000 in my race against me, even though I do my work. Talk to another one of your county commissioners and ask them why their legislative aide lobbied against me and got the Broward Young Democrats not to support me. Tell them that they should have thought about that before they attacked me and the community I serve, right? I'm grateful that my community supported me. But the truth of the fact of the matter is, if you are in our community, you feel like nobody cares about you. Some of the Black people who have been elected to office have not done anything for you and really and truly don't give a crap about you. They pretend like they care about you every election because they're...
What's the benefit?
Okay, let me ask you a question. What did you hear about me before you met me? Give me 3 things you heard about me before you met me. You didn't hear anything.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Okay.
Zero, and zero. But I saw the name and I saw you and I'm like, okay, wait a second.
So
she looks like
the three things.
Let me go and read up about her to see what she can do for me?
So the three things that I heard from before my interview yesterday was that I'm antisocial, I don't talk to anyone, and we're not quite sure she's Caribbean. Or she's
Huh?
half,
Huh?
we're not quite sure she's Jamaican, or we're not quite sure what she is, and she's not real friendly,
So
right?
what does that have to do about
So
your
so so
ability to
let
affect
so
change for me?
and that's why you voted for me. But there are other people who expect me to be like the other politicians who smile with you, laugh with you, pretend like they're fighting for you, but year after year you don't see nothing. Year after year you don't see nothing. They talk really loud and they scream and yell, not realizing that the end results of screaming and yelling without a true purpose is you get nothing, right? So
Clashing symbols.
people expect their elected officials. I had a city manager who's now retired tell me I didn't give him I wanted to meet with him to find out the issues of the city. And the man said to me, I don't give him a warm and fuzzy feeling. Mind you, this is a city that had not received resources in years. I'm a new rep and I'm trying to learn everything I possibly can. I sat down with another city that's a large city and I talked to their government officials for 2.5 hours and they need nothing from me. They've never asked me for anything. I come before this other city who needs stuff. And the man who's a city manager tells me that I don't give him a warm and fuzzy feeling.
Go home and cuddle up to your blanket, dude, if you
I
want
told
warm and
him I
fuzzy.
am not a teddy bear. And if he was expecting warm and fuzzy from me, I'm not a sheet, a towel, or a blanket. And what I'm here to do is bring back resources to your community. And I need for you to sit down with me to tell me what you need. And then tell me how we're going to go get it. Because I need you to come up here and help me lobby.
You know what? A lot of us, we are
But they
our
turn
biggest
around and
enemies,
call
and
me. But they turn
we
around and
and
call
we
me.
don't.
They turn around and say, I'm not a real Democrat. I'm not friendly, and I don't socialize. Well, how
Have
am
you
I going
ever
to
asked
socialize when I'm
them to
trying to
give
get
you
my
an
money?
example of a real Democrat? What is a real Democrat? What does that mean? Have you ever like put somebody on blast and ask them, all right, well, I'm not a real Democrat. I'm not this. I'm not that. You
I'm
tell
too
me
busy.
what.
I'm too busy worrying about my community to care about what the hell they're saying to me. There's a saying that says you don't fight with people who are not your equals. And I don't consider them my equals, so I don't even fight with them. And when I see them out, they
True.
don't even open their mouth to say anything to my face. I literally am out campaigning, and those people who are against me were afraid to even open their mouth anywhere next me because they are afraid of people who will fight for what's right. And I fight for what's right without opening my big mouth all day long and screaming and yelling. Because screaming and yelling doesn't mean you're getting what we need done.
You're just being loud. Empty barrels make the most
Yeah.
noise.
So we have to stop looking at people's personalities and start looking at their policies. Stop looking at personalities and look at policies. Stop looking at these D's and these R's and look at policies. I'm
Yep.
so over all these people not looking at policies, whether you want to believe it or not. Under Ron DeSantis, we have received over $55 million in resources for our historically black colleges and universities. 35 million of it is reoccurring to our private institutions every year. And that was pushed by the Legislative Black Caucus. Out of the 10 priorities we had in the Legislative Black Caucus,
To the
Ron
private?
DeSantis took up, yes, because our private HBCUs, listen, some of your Nova Southeastern University, which is a private institution, receives a lot of money from the state of Florida. So why is it our historically black colleges and universities are not? Do they
Because
not
we don't
educate our
fight for it.
children?
What?
Do they not
So,
educate our children?
now it comes back to something that you said at the beginning of the. This takes me. This is how my brain works. So it goes
Mm-hmm.
back to something that we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, where we mentioned, you mentioned some of the individuals who are in the legislature,
Mm-hmm.
the millionaires, the
Yes.
businessmen,
So the
and
millionaires and the businessmen,
the broke.
the millionaire and the businessmen let me break this down. So one of the things that people don't realize is that this current administration is not like the one that happened 8 years ago, right?
Right.
It's not the Rick Scott administration. It's not. We've had 20 years of interesting leadership, 20 plus years of interesting leadership, and in the 2 years that Ron DeSantis has been governor, we have actually received more funding towards our historically black colleges and universities than any time in the previous 12 years.
Mm.
Okay. Teacher pay raises at $500 million. We have not seen teacher pay raises like this. There was $300 million allocated towards affordable housing, and it wasn't swept this year. But what happened was he had to cut some because of what took place with COVID. So he cut some of the money, but he gave that similar money to housing to help us with housing insecurities during COVID-19 throughout the entire state. So you have to really, like you said, you do your research. You have to really look at what's taking place, and we have to stop elected, ineffective leaders who just want to be elected officials because it sounds nice. They want to walk in a room and hear Representative so-and-so, our Commissioner so-and-so, our Mayor so-and-so. And in truth, in fact, they don't give a crap about us. Those people, when you came to their houses, are reflecting back to you what they've seen for years. Government that doesn't care.
The country club. It comes back.
But no, it's not the country club, because we're talking about the people that represent the people in Broward County live here, right? So you live here with me. You can't represent me if you don't live in my community. I don't live in a country club, right?
No,
So
but
all you are direct. They have to live in the district.
right.
So if you live in District 94, you don't live in a country club. So how the hell do you go up there, scream and yell, and don't get any resources for your community?
Because it's not what it's about. It's about hanging out with
It's a dog and pony
to
show.
rub shoulders with, and the hobnobbing, and the going to
Dog
the
and
golf
pony
course,
show.
going to
But
the golf course.
they want to put that on me that I'm hanging out.
And because you don't do that, you are looked at as being a snob, standoffish, because you don't go
But you're
Oh,
out and
exposing.
rub shoulders and smile for the camera and take pictures with this person and say, oh, you know what? If my constituents see me with this person, or if my constituents see this or that, they're thinking that I'm voting for them. That is why I have never voted for a specific person because of the color of their skin or the party that they represent. I
Thank
do
God.
my research, and I have two young, up-and-coming, strong black women that
You have daughters.
I teach that stuff. My daughters, every single
Yes.
election, I take them with me, and whether we vote absentee with absentee ballot, or we go into the polls and vote, I have never voted without them.
Can I tell you something? I knew that I would be okay because my district is that kind of a district. We are actually a thinking district, and we outvote. We are actually in the top 7 voting House districts in the entire state. You have 120 House districts. We outvote most of them.
How can we just spread this across the state instead of everybody just falling in line and just
because
the problem has been done instead of doing different.
The people who run for leadership roles, who have proper intent for the community or the state of Florida, the community they serve, never make it to those seats. So what ends up happening is the person who's liked makes it in. The person who they think will be able to position them makes it in. Their biggest issue with me is I never asked for one endorsement from any of them when I ran. I never thought that I was not qualified. right? I never thought I was qualified. I was underqualified to learn. I do ask questions though. Don't get me wrong. I will sit down and for hours with the person who is in charge of the appropriations budget, the man, not the appropriations chair, but the person who actually works for the state who deals with the appropriations budget. I spend hours in there on a Saturday learning when they're having
But
these meetings. But I can tell you that we need to start looking at our elected officials and demanding something different and
Local
realize that
elected
yeah,
officials.
local elected officials, your state elected
local,
official, your city
yes.
and your county. But on top of that, we have to also stop. There's a movement, it's a progressive movement that has been taken up. The progressive movement has been taken over by regressives. And these are people who are very much so like the Tea Party. Now, it didn't start off like that. When I entered in 2016, I was told I was a progressive, right? I didn't know what the hell that was. I just thought I was a common sense thinker. That's how I always see myself. But now there's a takeover, and these people, they would rather see the whole building burn than to see communication between both sides. Now, these same people will scream and yell and bullhorn it, right? And then behind closed doors, the people that are pulling their strings don't look like us. They
Right.
literally were moving somebody into the district to run against me who never voted in the district, never lived in the district. They had her posted up on the back of the poster, holding hands with her husband and looking like she was super stable, right? They called me a Republican. They called me, they said I missed votes. On criminal justice reform, the bill I missed the vote on, and this is interesting. I missed the vote because I was actually lobbying for our darn money. And I will miss a vote anytime if it means bringing back resources. And the bill I missed on was a bear poaching bill.
What?
A bear poaching bill. I ain't got no bears in District 95. So if I missed
But
a bill,
of course, that was not say the bill that the vote that you missed. It was not.
no,
Oh,
they
Anika
said it was
missed the
criminal
vote, and she
justice.
claims that she is for you, but she missed
Criminal
this vote.
justice. She
No,
missed the vote on criminal justice. It was a bear bill, bear poaching bill, and I'm still amazed at the fact that I had to defend myself against someone who didn't give a crap about us. First of all, never moved into the district correctly, right? And as soon as the election was over, she dropped her husband's last name and no longer is residing in the district. But
really? Yeah. You know these fly by nights. I don't know exactly who you're talking about because, like I said, every election I do my research. I see the candidates and I get a what you call it, a preliminary ballot, and I see okay this, and this, and I do my research. I call people. I message people. All right, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Some of us agree on certain things, and if we disagree, I do more research and I make a list. And I said to my daughters, I said, listen, this is how we're voting, but why are we voting this way, Mommy? You know what? Mommy did her research, and this is what is going to be, this is what I think is going to be best for us. If you think it's going to be different, then you go do your research.
Well,
But
they should do their research anyway.
on top of that, the fact that you do your research, we research everything. We research the tires we have to buy from the tire store to make sure they're the right tires and we get it at the best price.
Mm-hmm.
We can Google, the latest songs. We can Google the knockoff to the makeup we want that's at a lesser price. We Google everything.
Why not our
Why the
representatives?
heck are we not looking at what our representatives are bringing back home? And
Right.
on top of that, when they tell you, oh, the reason, literally, let me just tell you, they said Representative Omproy brought back money her first year because she was sleeping with so and so.
Oh wow.
see stuff like that. When I see
And
things like
this
that,
was
I'm
a
like, you know
black.
what?
This was not written, by the way. This was just spread around Tallahassee. But this is the interesting part. Representative Omproy takes her little butt home every night. Representative Omproy does not drink with her colleagues. Representative Omproy goes to her bed. But it was spread by a black female lobbyist. And the sad part about it is there's very few Black lobbyists to begin with. And this one is supposedly the mentor of all mentors. But she took it upon herself to decide that the reason I was able to get the resources for my community was because I slept with somebody. Now, I'm going to tell you that my freshman year, I went and I got my money because I had women who were in charge of my committees who I had talked to, supported, learned from. And so when I asked for resources from my community, oh, and my aunt served with them. So I had an entryway already. I already
Yep.
had a relationship. They knew my aunt. They liked her. They knew she was straightforward and judged people based on who they were. And so when I walked through the door, they didn't really know that she was my aunt. But when I sat down in my meetings with them, I say, you know, my aunt said you were a great member to serve with. And then they'd say, who's your aunt? And I would say, my aunt is Representative Rogers. And that opened another door. You see what I'm saying? So who's currently the mayor of this particular city? And that's why I need these resources. Your former colleague needs these resources for her Alzheimer's center. You see what I'm saying?
I voted for her when we lived in Lauderdale Lakes. Every election, I voted for his Rogers.
She does not.
I know who she is, and I know her track record.
But
and I know her
it also helped me in Tallahassee. Like it helped me to be able to say her name in regards to a bill in regards to her city, to connect her back to it. And then on top of that, she would come up and lobby for herself. One of the things I did when I came back after my first year was teach my other cities who did not come up to lobby how to lobby. I sat down.
That's right.
I'm a part-time representative. It's
That's
my
right there.
first year. But I sat down with them and said, listen, this is how the game is played. This is the language they use in their legislation. They don't say poverty, impoverished. They say economically constrained communities. That's how my colleagues on the Republican side,
you know, that's how you were taught how to do this to be effective.
No, nobody taught me.
She went up there and she
I
caught on to what they were doing.
I studied.
She paid attention to what they were doing, and that is how she.
And that's
and
how
she brought that back. You see, if you're going to fight, if you're going to the art of war, learn what your opponent is doing, and use that against them.
On top of that, I walked through the hallways in Tallahassee knowing that the people who built that building never expected me to be in there. And they're probably very grateful that I'm walking through those halls because they look like me and you. And I don't even know what you look like, but I know you look like me.
Yeah.
So my thing is that when I walk through those halls, I don't walk like I'm not supposed to be there. Darn it, I walk through that building like it is mine. And I say hello to everybody. I say hello to everybody. And I people are like, why do your Republican colleagues like you? Because I say hi to everybody. I say hi to the people in the mail room. I say hi to everyone because you know what? Every one of those people make that place run.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Whether they're in the boardroom or the bathroom, you're going to communicate and you're going to connect with them.
And what ends up happening is when I'm not around, guess what? Those same team people are like, we like her. I literally asked for something at the last minute and had the response back from the lobbyist that works for a particular city say to me that the team said, please tell Representative Omproy that we absolutely love her and we raised her money $100,000. This is money they don't tell everybody the money done. The money is done. We don't have any more. Okay?
Appropriately used also.
Appropriately used, but the text message back to the lobbyist, who then showed it to me, was tell Representative Omproy we love her and we raised it $100,000 because I needed an extra $100,000 to give my city what it needed. They couldn't have done it with the 150. It needed the extra 100 to bring it to the 250,000, and that is built on me being able to effectively communicate not me sleep with nobody. Because guess what? You sleep with somebody today.
Please.
Well, how are you going to get what you want tomorrow?
Yeah.
Listen,
it's done.
You have to go sleep with them again.
And I read and I saw the things that you did. And I'm like, wait a second. She's way too young to be this effective. Let me read some more. And I saw this and I saw this and I saw this. And I'm like, she might
And
be
then I
young,
didn't
and people
embellish.
think that she might be inexperienced, but she seems like she's not afraid to talk to people, and she doesn't seem like she's a conformist.
No.
Let me give her my vote.
You know what?
Thank you so
And
much. You saved me because
In
they were trying to take us. They were trying to take us out. They literally pumped over $300,000 into this district to remove an effective leader. Can you imagine if they had taken that $300,000 and pumped it into another district race where we needed to remove someone who was anti Broward County or anti the movement of getting resources back to our schools or anti. No, they wasted money to remove someone who was actually doing her job. And I sat back and I was like, I knew that you guys would save me. I knew you would. And like people are like, were you not afraid? No. Do you know the number I won by? It was
about
444. Ironically, I have a tattoo on my side and it's four fours and it's connected and it stands for forever for life. I then saw 444 again today. And so I looked up 444. And it says in the Bible that God gave us four seasons. There's like four things that was it Paul? Paul had understood four disciplines or like there's four. But anyways, long story short, I'm not
oh Lord
overly
Jesus, she
religious.
preaching. Hallelujah.
I'm
She
not
preaching. She
I'm not
preaching.
I'm not overly religious, but I couldn't understand why 444 was the number. When I looked, it says
It's
444 is
spirituality.
yes, it's the number that says you're on the right course. And I did not know that until this evening. I happened to look it up this evening because
Wow.
people will say Representative Omproy got in 2018 by accident. No, I had enough courage to file against an incumbent that I lost to 2 years prior and run again. And that person didn't fill out their paperwork correctly. And so they didn't qualify. But some people will write in a story and say, oh, she won by accident. I say no. God told me to run in 2016 and I lost by 321 votes. But in 2018, he put me in before one vote was cast. I got in on June 22nd, 2018, qualifying day. Not one vote cast. Okay? Then in 2020, I'm going through and I heard that these people were coming for me. I heard it from every angle. They're coming to get her. They're coming to get her. They actually said it on the House floor. Representative Evan Jenny looked at Representative Roth and said, we are going to make sure she does not make it back here.
wow.
And I looked at Representative Roth. He didn't realize Representative Roth and I had built a relationship. So I looked at Representative Roth and I said, Representative Roth, I'm not worried. My district, I voted like my district wanted me to vote. I didn't make any votes that were critical without having conversations with the leaders within my district, without talking to my community. And every vote I made, even if I knew that I would get pushback from it, I knew that I made the right vote. And if you're afraid to make votes or to stand up for your community, you don't deserve to be in office
True.
because you have to be able to take the brunt of it. But I sat here and I was like, they were like, oh, she barely won. No, when I ran in 2016, I got 3,421 votes. I ran in 2020 and I got 13,010 votes. No, what I see is 9,000 more people who now know me,
Right.
who gave me their support. I don't look at the 12,000 people who voted against me as a negative thing. I look at it as a mix of stuff, right? One, they could see me as establishment and not really understand what the hell I'm doing. I've had some Black people tell me that, oh, you too uppity, you over here trying to teach people stuff and nobody want to learn all that.
I
And
can relate
I've
to that.
heard that, which is similar to your census story, right? You walk through a door and you say, hey, this is what I've done and I would like to continue to do it. Or, hey, this is what's important. I need you to look at it this way. And you get that. And then you have to remember that you can't save everybody.
Yep.
So, and then I heard I said to myself, I know that my district will save me if I explain to them what's taking place, if I just show them what I've done. I'm an introvert. I'm actually not the type of person that likes to be in the front of anything. I would prefer to read a book and just do my work. But guess what I realized in this moment is that if I don't, like I mentioned, I was away from home for 220 days, right? And then I came back home to COVID-19. So now I'm stuck again and I
Mm-hmm.
still have to run this race. So what I realized is I had to learn how to communicate better. But anyways, long story short, um, 444 people is the difference between the district having someone who knows nothing about it and having someone who was raised by it. I don't walk into those buildings with anything on my brain but protecting my community. That's all I care about. For
And
the
just to let you
120 days
know,
I'm there.
before the primaries, I didn't know who you were.
Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't communicate better.
No, no, nothing against you. I
No,
saw names on a
I blame,
ballot, and
I
I
blame
was
me.
like, I know nothing about this person. I know nothing about this person. Let me go do some research and see what these people stand for. Let me see their track record. Let me see what they have done. Let me see if they're going to be in my best interest. I don't care whether they're what their party is. I don't care what the color of their skin is. It didn't hurt that you look like me. That when I stood in the mirror and I look, I'm like, shoot, she looks like me. So let me put a little bit more effort into seeing that, all right, this sister, she's from the Caribbean. We got a lot in common. Let me see what she's going to do for me.
Who'd you
That
vote for
played a
sheriff?
role into why I did what I did. But every
Who
election, I research my candidates. I don't
who did
let
you
the
vote for
political
sheriff?
ads, and I don't let the what your opponent has to say about you negatively. I don't let none of that
Can I ask you a question? Who
influence
did you
my
vote for
decision.
sheriff?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Who did you vote for sheriff?
Who did I vote for sheriff? I voted for Gregory Tony.
Okay. That is how I ended up with a relationship with the governor's office. Is because of Gregory Tony situation. That's how I ended up being able to build a relationship with his team. Do you remember
The
when the vote came up for Sheriff Israel to be reinstated or removed
hmm
permanently?
he did
So,
he didn't do much for me. And when I checked his background and what he did, he was out there and he was talking, but none of what he was saying resonated with me. I went and I researched him and I researched Gregory Tony, and I'm like, and even when they came up with the negative ads about his personal life and whatever, I'm like, I
mhm.
don't care what you
And
I
what he
don't
did as
care
a
what you
child.
do about outside of when you are not behind closed doors. I don't care about that. That's your personal life. You have your maker and your creator and whoever you have to answer to. I don't care about that stuff. But
So,
I looked at what he
mhm,
accomplished and what he
mhm.
was able to do, and I voted for him.
So I didn't like when Governor DeSantis removed Sheriff Israel from the spot because I feel like we elected him and so we should have removed him, right? But I
Right.
had a meeting with Sheriff Tony the day after the special master report came out in Tallahassee. Now, the special master report is when they bring in a specialist to review a case that comes before the Florida Senate, and then they make a decision. And the Senate can decide whether or not they accept it or overturn it, right? I had a meeting scheduled with Sheriff Tony a month before that. He rescheduled, and it ended up being the day after the special master report came out. So I'm sitting in his office waiting for him to come. And so his team takes me on a tour, right? And I had just been in that building 6 months prior. And when I walked through the offices, there were very few people that looked like me.
Hmm.
When I walked through the building 6 months later, the place looked very brown. It looked brown, it looked black. And I said, okay, there's some changes here, right?
hmm
And so I sat down with him. Now, granted, um, I'm usually the one people are waiting on, so it's very interesting to have to wait for him. so 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 I ended up in there was like an additional wait, so I ended up in his new uh state of the art rapid response room where you can see what's taking place at all the schools really quickly. And he literally took me like off the street where I live, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is his team. And I was like, wow, this is amazingness. And I had been there 6 months prior, and that did not exist in there, right? So he finally makes it to the meeting, and his whole team is shuffling in to come and meet with me, right? And he looks at them and he goes, no, I don't need you for this meeting. And so all 6 of them shuffled away. And he says, can we talk straight? Basically what he said. And I said, sure, let's talk. And he said to me, I need your help. And I said, listen, I just got to Tallahassee. Okay. So I don't know how much help I'm going to be. I'm just trying to defend my dollars. And I don't know much about you to help you, but tell me why you need my help. So he goes through and he explains all the things he's done. I saw it myself, right? And he goes, I need help in staying. Can you help me lobby the senators? I said, well, I have walked myself over to Senator Chambers to ask them for something. And maybe I could. And I realized later that most freshmen have never walked their little selves over there. I must have been the only freshman this last year to walk themselves
You're
over,
a
right?
bold little thing, aren't you?
Bold little thing. Walk my little self over and ask for help. So anyways, I actually taught some of my other colleagues how to do that. And then I taught them how to go to the governor's office. I was like, let's go. So anyways, long story short, because like I said, I believe I belong there, right? So I walk where I feel like walking and I learn what I need to learn. If they tell me they can't meet with me, I make an appointment to come back. But all they can do is tell me no.
Right.
So anyways, long story short, I spent a week before I headed back to Tallahassee stopping and talking to police officers who work for the sheriff's department all over the county who look like me.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them the same question. Sometimes I was in a suit. Sometimes I was in flip-flops and a t-shirt. I went to the airport. I went everywhere and asked them the same question. How is things under this current administration? And I got the same answer. This is the first time we've seen so much movement in 15 years. When I sat down to think about the pay raises and the movements of people, I, in my brain, estimated that we have an extra $1 million that is in hands that look like mine since he got into office.
And can I share something with you? That's when I started doing my research about him, I had never seen so much diversity in the sheriff's department until he took the reins. And that's one of the reasons why he got my vote, because I saw what he was doing. He was bringing in people who
from
were
the
qualified,
community.
not necessarily whose father was here or whose this was that, or who he was bringing in. And there are so many of us who are qualified to
never would have had a chance
to be in, but we would never have a chance unless we put somebody that look like us, who are fighting for us, in that position so he can bring the rest of us up with him.
Agreed. So I ended up catching heat from the Democratic senators because I went up there and started lobbying the Democratic senators who look like me, the black ones first, right? Because I have a relationship with them because I sit in caucus meetings with them every week. Right. So I told Sheriff Tony, I can't lobby any of your Broward senators. You got to deal with them. I'm not touching them. Straight up. They're yours. You go deal with them. I will lobby the senators that I know that are the Black Legislative Caucus senators that I know that are not in your county. And then I will come back to you and tell you whether or not they'll speak to you. So I get to Tallahassee now, and I got there early because I wasn't supposed to be there till Wednesday, but I came up on Monday, and I basically start having these conversations. I pick up the phone and I call the governor's office, and they didn't call me back at first. But then I called through like the helpline and left a message because I was like, they won't answer me. So I need somebody to answer. So I called through the helpline and told the helpline, I'm Representative Anika Omproy, and I can't get the legislative director to call me back, and I need help with figuring out a situation with my county. So I got a call that evening. And I said, listen, I represent House District 95 in Broward County. Representative, we know who you are. I said, and you have an issue in Broward County, and I want to work with you to help keep our current appointed sheriff. And they said, when can we meet? That is how I started my relationship with the governor's administration. It wasn't me going there to beg them something. We worked towards a common goal. And I got to know them and they got to know me. And so out of the 6 Black senators, I had one senator hang up the phone on me. I had another senator tell me I was an Uncle Tom. Now, I had another senator, it was so interesting, right? The responses. I had another senator who said they respected my opinion, but they're going to stand in line with the Democratic Party. And I tell people all the time, the Democrats tolerate us. The Republicans don't like us. So you tell me which one you like. The Democrats depend on us to help push them over. The Republicans see us as the ones who mess up their movements, right? So you tell me which one you like, right? All right.
Boy,
So anyways,
that's a tough decision.
it's a tough spot.
Really, really, yeah. And that is
So-
why I refuse to vote
You can't.
party.
And you know,
Mhm.
Representative Omproy, I said to you when we're setting this up that I don't do politics. I do people. And you have demonstrated, and I have gone over 30 minutes.
I'm so sorry.
No, but that's fine.
Oh my Lord! Oh, I apologize. I didn't even realize what time it was. Uh-oh, me and my big mouth.
I'm glad
I
you
hold
came
you both
on.
responsible.
I'm glad you came on
But
because you were
I-
able to.
And
I wasn't going to stop it.
I assume all the responsibility.
You can do that. You owe me an extra massage. That's all. Here is my listen. Ooh, woosah. Yeah, you owe me an extra massage. That's all I can say.
All right, I'm gonna put it out there on the air. Done. You got it.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you so much
So-
for making sure he's okay.
Representative Omproy, you have demonstrated that you play the game of politics, but you are all people.
I love my people.
And you have to do the politics thing, you have to do the politician thing in order to get for your people what you need to get. I have heard this demonstrated with one other person. Her name is Dr. Shirley McKellar. She is the city commissioner of District 2 in Tyler, Texas.
Oh, I would love to meet her.
And she is on the Donnie Walker morning show on Wednesdays. She does a Wellness Wednesday show.
Nice.
So Donnie Walker is on WGLRO.com from 7 to 10 a.m. every morning. He carries my show rebroadcast. Donnie Walker was the one who was instrumental in me talking with those 2 gentlemen last week with the Wayne Williams case. Donnie Walker was the one who was instrumental in me knowing David Fisher, who presented information on Rodney Reed that has blown the minds of many people. That have through that I've spoken with Stacey Stites' cousin. I've spoken with the then best friend of the little girl that they accused Rodney Reed of raping. I have spoken to so many people through Donnie Walker on that morning show. Shirley McKellar, Dr. Shirley McKellar, former Army, she's an Army veteran. So she's Major Dr. Shirley McKellar. It's a commissioner, District 2, Tyler, Texas. And I will reach out to her to see how you two can get connected and try to connect both of you.
I'm just grateful she exists.
Yeah, and you said you want to meet her. I'll make it happen.
No, 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 no. I do want to meet her, but
Yeah.
I'm grateful she exists because there's an art to this. People think I just stumble on it by accident. Granted, God does make things happen. I
Yes.
don't do it on my own, but it is very rare for someone to put in my industry for them to put. Oh, okay. Let me take that back. It's very rare
Mm-hmm.
for people that look like me to remember to put their community first and not themselves.
Yeah.
Because you get sidetracked because you're the only or you're one of, and you start to forget. And I'm not saying that, I, I hate to say that, but I've been watching politicians for my whole life. I'm 42 and I've seen it
Yeah.
up close. I've had people think that or treat me badly because they didn't realize because I'm taking out the garbage, so they think that I'm like
The
the
help.
person who's set to clean up the place,
The
the
custodian.
helper,
Yeah.
the custodian, and then they'll say something really mean to me. And then my aunt will come around the corner and she'll be like, Nika, everything okay? And I'll be like, yes, auntie. And they don't realize that then they change their entire demeanor. So
Right.
I make sure that I treat everybody with kindness because somebody belongs to somebody belongs to somebody.
Yeah.
And I've watched as people have been mean to other people because they think that they're less than, you know, and I'm my dad's a truck driver, right? Now people are like, oh, truck drivers are stupid. Well, my dad was a who's who of high school students. He could have gone to any college he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I judge people based on who they are, similar to our lovely co-host for the evening, who judges people based on who they are. And I have to say that I'm grateful every time I meet other people who are like that. There's the lady who's the National Legislative Black Caucus chair or president, um, is one of those people, President Cobbs Hunter. I forgot to tell you, I sit on a National Legislative Black Caucus Trade Committee as a co-chair
Yes.
as a freshman. So,
Amazing.
and it's because of people who saw something in me that I saw in myself, but I wasn't sure anybody else saw, and gave me a chance. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with everyone tonight. And I'm hoping
My
that
pleasure.
by taking you on this tour, you can understand how I do have a relationship with the governor's office. It was because we worked together on something, not because I went to beg him something or he came to beg me something. We had a common goal, which was he thought he chose the right person by choosing Sheriff Tony. And I think he made a damn good choice in Sheriff Tony, which is apparent by what he did with the time that he had.
Yeah.
Now, I'm praying he continues on that path, and I'm sure that he will, because if not, I'll have a lot to say.
And what we have found out tonight is you talk. You don't hold it back. When I say you talk, I mean you get it out there. The good, the bad, and the indifferent. You get it out there. Once it is in the name of being just.
And I personally thank you for that because you are my voice. And when I am not able to step out there, and Lord knows, Kevin will tell you, I have a big mouth. I might not be in public office, but I have a big mouth. And when I can find somebody who can stand in my place and speak and echo what it is that I would like or what I stand for, I'm going to be behind them and supporting them.
I'll tell you another thing that she has amazing heavenly healing heavenly hands. So when you're back home and you're ready for your massage, you call her, okay?
I'm going to need it because let me tell you, these people are giving me gray hairs and all kind of stress. I'll tell you about that another day.
Yeah, that's why. That's why.
I'm available November 4th all day.
I listen. Can I tell you that I don't know how anybody else feels, but I can't. I'm so grateful that November 4th is here November 3rd is here
Well,
because I can't wait to get to November 4th.
well,
I am
And
I'm
let me ask
over
this. Let me ask
all
this.
of this.
There's a lot of talk, and as we wrapping up, I don't know how long this is gonna take us, but there's a lot of talk about unrest and people wondering if there's going to be civil unrest and such. With your ears to the ground, are you hearing it, getting that kind of feedback? Is that the kind of atmosphere that you're coming into?
We have no guns and no bullets in Broward County. When I asked, I think it was a month and a half ago.
So in Broad County, there's no need to worry about.
No,
Um,
there's no guns to buy or bullets to buy
yeah,
in Broward County.
yeah. I heard there was like
A
none.
shortage,
Yeah, there's like
right?
you can't get it
So,
anywhere.
so that is a concern right there, right? Because I used to be able to walk to a gun shop and pick up a gun if I wanted one, right? And now I can't.
You could go to Wally World.
And now I can't. So I actually have a really good friend of mine who works in the sheriff department in another county, and I said, I can't get a gun to buy here. And his response was, if you need it, I can get you one. And I was like, thank God, right? I have another friend who is going to go to her rich friend's island. Now, mind you, she's not rich, but she's going to the island with her other friend who knows the rich friend, and she gonna go hang out there if civil unrest happens.
Yeah, but do you
So
think that there's going to be
I
any?
honestly, 100% believe that there will be civil unrest if President Trump does not make it back into office.
If
I
he does
believe
not make it back
make
into
it
office.
back into office. I believe that he will co-sign it, and that's the scary part, right? Now, I don't think that we will see it in my part of Broward County. But I would like for us to remember that in 1978, the year I was born, was the last time they publicly hanged a black man from a bridge in Davie. And if we went on a tour, I could show you the bridge they hanged him from. I went to school in Davie, right? And I will never forget summer science, Saturday science. I'm at Saturday science, and there is a parade, a Veterans Day parade, and right behind the Girl Scouts was the Klan in full white garb.
Wow,
Some people may have forgotten
that
Davie,
that wasn't a very long time ago.
which is now our, who you trying to tell? Which is now a college town, and it's
Yeah,
also a town I don't go into come dark.
here, the city
and I
and
used to
or
work
town
there.
of Davie, I stay away from there in broad daylight because of what I know about how the city or the town of Davie came about,
Mm-hmm.
how the elected officials there act, and how the residents are. I don't even go to Davie in broad daylight if I don't have to.
So I do know two of the elected officials in Davie, right? I never get a bad vibe from them. However, I went to school in Davie. I went to Nova High School, and then I went to university in Davie, which is Nova Southeastern University. And
Right.
I can tell you that when I got out of my night classes, because I worked during the day, when I got out of my night classes, I would book it the hell out of there. When I went to Nova High School, I formed an organization called the African Violet Association, which ended up forming two-step teams, Ashanti and Black Rain. I was the first co-captain of the boys and the girls step team. And that organization existed up to 20 years after I left high school. I never went back to do anything but the first year to watch them at a district-wide event, but I never touched it again, and it still managed to exist all these years later.
Mm.
I heard that they broke up for a year and now they're reforming. But anyways, long story short, when we had our first step show, the KKK dropped bomb threats into our lockers, and we were not able to have our first step show because of those bomb threats. So yeah,
That's
All I have to
concerning.
say is my
Wow.
first protest I held as a seventh grader at Seminole Middle School. It was right after the Rodney King beatings, and they started to paint "Pull a Trigger, Kill a Nigger" and swastikas all over our lockers and our school books. And I learned how to use my voice because my family told me, my aunt and my mom in particular, that I had to go through the chain of command. So I had to talk to my teacher about what I didn't like, and then my guidance counselor, then my assistant principal, and then my principal. And they all told me they couldn't do anything about it. So I formed an organization called Students Against Racism. And I held a press conference with my co-classmates. And we got them to repaint the lockers and get us new school books. Okay. So
Mm.
that was 1991. There's a Sun Sentinel article to prove it. I didn't make this up. So what I have to say is that Broward County has pockets of people. I'm not saying Plantation is that place, and I'm not saying Davie is still that place. But 1991 was not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated from Nova Southeastern University in 2005. It wasn't that long ago.
Not at all.
All right. And that man that got hanged was in 1978. Same 42 years ago. That's my age, right?
Right.
It wasn't that long ago. So there are still pockets of people within our county who don't think that we should be here. They don't think that we should be anything but second class citizens in this place. And so I would suggest that everybody who has to vote on election day should go out and vote as early as possible and make their way back into their homes
As early
so
as
that if
possible.
there is civil unrest, it is not, we are not caught in the middle of it. So some of us don't have that luxury, right?
Yeah.
But if you have that luxury, please, if you don't have that luxury, please take main roads home. Please travel the highway rather than a back road home. I know we love to shortcut them, just cut through different parts of the
Mm-mm.
neighborhood. Don't do that. Take
Mm-mm.
major highways, take major roadways after this election is over. Be aware of your surroundings. Do not be afraid to call 911 if you see something you don't like. And if you have a Biden Harris sticker on your car, you might want to peel it off tonight. Because after tomorrow, you don't need it.
Right.
And try not to travel alone if possible.
Listen, I've seen them surround cars with 4 people in it.
I guess
So
it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. I agree with you trying not to travel alone, but more than anything else, stay off the road. And you're not, we still have pockets of people who don't like us here. And we just have to be aware. I'm praying that we don't have any issues. We do have a black sheriff, right? We do have a lot of changes that have taken place in Broward County that has a lot of people who you might not think is racist afraid, right? We have a bunch of constitutional officers that now look like us. If everything goes well on election day, um, the Democrats will win, and you will end up with only one constitutional officer that is not black. So if something does take place, you will have a black state attorney, you'll have a black public defender, and you'll have a black sheriff.
Mm.
And so we will probably be getting some of the backlash from those changes because those changes change the pockets and where those resources go, and
Right.
people don't like when their resources get changed.
Yep.
um so it may not just be a backlash of Trump winning or losing. It may also be a backlash of the changes that are taking place in Broward County. One of the things we're going to have to fight against is Broward County becoming a slum county or becoming a blighted county because we have decided to use our voices and assert ourselves and navigate the way we did. Now, a lot of people will say
So
that
no
these
funds will
seats
be um.
reallocated
Yeah.
to be more diversified. We are 33% of the population in Broward County, right? Um, so one of the things that I have to say, because if I don't want to forget this, is that the reason that those constitutional officers are going to start looking like us is because we as Black people and brown people stuck together on the vote, whereas our white counterparts um, had multiple people in the race. We're going to have to protect our constitutional Black officers, and we're going to have to read in between the lines when these people write lies about them. The Sun Sentinel wrote so many interesting things about me. I hate women. I'm against women's rights to have an abortion. I voted on legislation to have parental consent on minor children having an abortion. A child cannot go to the dentist without parental consent. A child cannot go to the doctor without parental consent unless it's a life-threatening situation.
Right.
How is it that we have our 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds being able to have abortions without parental consent? It's not the abortion part that bothers me. It's the fact that a child is going to have a medical procedure and not one parent knows.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that not all parents are amazing, right? I get that. And that's why in the law, there is a provision that if the child believes that their parent is not going to work within their best interest, the child can petition the court and the court will review through. Within 24 hours, they will have a court appointed attorney. And within 72 hours, they will have a court date, right? The other thing is that if a child was sexually abused or physically abused by a parent, that child does not have to get consent from that parent. But they have me written down as anti-women's choice. And that's why I'm saying to you, read between the lines when they start to write these articles about our constitutional officers. Some of it might be true, and some of it may be fabricated. They may take off an and an or, and they may take off the part where it says minor and call people grown-ups, right?
Yeah.
A woman's
And
right
just
to
make it
choose.
general. Yeah.
Right. So we have to prepare ourselves for that. We have to prepare ourselves for the fact that there may be a backlash because of how we have changed our county.
Mm.
And on that note,
Yeah.
I suggest we stay in our yard.
Just another reason to stay home. You got COVID and you got the potential unrest.
On top of that, they'll be screaming in your face with no mask on. So they're trying to give you COVID. So just stay in your house. Get your face
Yeah.
shields, wear some glasses, wear your mask, and stay away from the crazy people. Because they have bussed people into our district from outside of Broward County before. They did it at the Lauderhill Mall in 2018, and they got very rowdy down there. So that's why I don't think it can't happen here. If you get I don't know
Yeah.
if either of you remember that.
I
They
was
bust
yeah.
people in.
I didn't know that they had bussed people in.
Oh, none of them people was from here. They look, 10 of those people was from here. Everybody else they bust in.
Mm-mm. See,
So be prepared.
Representative Anika Omproy. How do
Thank
people
you
get in
so
touch
very
with you?
much. Oh boy. On Facebook, Rep Umfroy, REPOMPHROY. On Twitter, also Rep Umfroy, REPOMPHROY. I do not communicate often on Twitter. I do talk on Facebook. So if you write me something or you ask me a question, I usually respond back within 24 to 48 hours. On Twitter, I basically observed. They made me get a Twitter page. Um, and I have
Hey,
an Instagram
do
I'm
you follow
learning
the
to
orange
navigate
one?
through. Yeah, no, I do not follow the orange one, but I do follow a lot of my colleagues that are Republicans,
Okay.
and they actually followed me first.
They
Um,
want to know what you're doing.
no, let me tell you, I got attacked by one of my colleagues my first 3 months in office, and cornered, and ended up having to write a letter to the Speaker of the Florida House in reference to it. And I'll tell you that story another day.
Yes.
But it was actually my Republican male colleagues who checked in on me when the whole thing was taking place. Now, they didn't call me, but they would write me notes and remind me to keep my head up. And so you will hear me say things at times, or people may be like, why are you so nice to them? Well, they were sure as hell nice to me. And so I judge people based on how they treat me as a human being, and I don't judge people based on party affiliation. So
So, some of the things that we are getting by way of not social media but the news isn't quite the way it actually is.
who's writing it?
That right
Who's
there.
writing it?
That right there.
When you look at the Sun Sentinel review board that said that my opponent was a better candidate because of her social activism, but I met her at an event that I hosted on behalf of Corey Jones, who got killed by a
Yeah.
off-duty
Officer
police officer.
in Palm Beach. Yep.
Yeah, I did my first protest as a seventh grader. I don't have to protest anymore. I know how this works, and I know what needs to take place to get change. And yelling and screaming is necessary. Protesting is necessary, but be aware of who they want to take out. That's all I have to say. Martin Luther King was not loved in his time.
True.
Gandhi was not loved in his time. Darn it, they crucified Jesus.
Yep.
So what makes me any different? So I'm definitely not Jesus. So
Yeah. They say a
so
hero is never recognized in his own country, so that
no.
too.
And I don't think I'm a hero, but I definitely think that I am probably one of Mayor Jack Seiler, former Mayor Jack Seiler of Fort Lauderdale, and state representative, former representative, and former mayor of Wilton Manors also, said in a forum in introducing me that many people who get elected to state office take time to figure out their way around. Representative Omproy got there and took off running, and she learned how to communicate the needs of her community. When he said what he said, and it was a little longer than that, I almost cried because I said, finally, someone understands why I do it.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm done talking now because I'll talk on for another 10 hours. And I'm sure your listeners
No,
are like,
what we're
this
gonna
lady can't
do,
chat.
what we're going to do is to figure out how to bring you back, because what you bring is more than politics. It's you said it to me. You said politics is life.
It
You bring
is.
life to this
Thank
because
you.
you expose the reality of the situation, and you're not talking about just, oh, the Democrats are the best there is and the Republicans are dirt. No, 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 no. You're saying here are these individuals
Mm-hmm.
that appear on this side or on this side,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what they're doing.
And just to remember, when we started this conversation, I told you it's very difficult for me to change me, right?
Yes.
The key to my success is being able to meet every person with an open mind and an open heart. Because if I'm open, I'll be able to understand where they're coming from, even if I don't agree. And I don't fight anybody on their personality, I fight them on their policies.
Yes. That's right there. Yeah. Debate the issues. Don't debate my personality. Debate the
People get
issues.
pissed off when you start to call them names. Everybody's human. We put our pants on one leg at a time. I tell students that I occasionally trip. They think I'm joking, but I broke a toe this year and I broke a toe last year. I'm very clumsy. So, God is balanced and fair. Perfection is not mine. Um, and those fours mean so much more to me right now, Kevin. I didn't understand what God was trying to tell me in that moment, but 444 is not a real number that comes up in races, and it also happens to be on my side. I have tattoos, which people don't realize. Um, and one of them
And just
happens to be
remember
Fort
who our
Forest.
44th president was.
Hey.
Just
Barack
saying.
Obama.
Oh, there you go.
It's
Just
not a joke.
I was just saying.
I forgot she was
I
on the line.
Me too. Me too. But
Althea, thank you very much also.
Althea, thank you. Kevin, thank you. Listeners, thank you so very much for giving me an opportunity to take over your airways and disturb it for a bit.
You
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to explain, because when I was running, I couldn't explain things
yeah.
because my team said you have to hold your head down and fight. So when you're training, when you're on the battlefield, you don't get time to be like, oh, I should have moved left, I should have moved right, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've given me an opportunity to explain how these relationships came about, because
You
people
talk like
see
you're a
them.
soldier.
I am.
No, were
I
you ever in the
am.
military?
No, but I come from a military family. My grandfather's a military man. My great grandfather was a military person. I come from that type and granted, I never knew they were military until after they were gone,
Well,
right? But
meet
it's in my genetics.
meet
Um,
Army veteran, massage therapist,
oh, I didn't know
Broward
that.
School District employee,
So you've
and a
seen
couple
you've
of other
seen it all.
going on. Althea SU, uh, live and in
Althea,
living color.
I am so grateful you exist. And 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 I have to also say to you that you're not wrong about Governor DeSantis being very deliberate in his movements. But I
And
want you to
I
know, but I
appreciate
want
you
you
saying that.
but
However,
I want you to know something though.
hmm
The man is not like Trump. He
Mm,
reads, he's a thinker, and every time I've ever asked a question about anything, he can actually answer me, because I've asked him some stuff and he knew it because he had studied it. Now, is he wrong for forcing
the
schools back open?
mm,
I agree with you that we should not have been forced to go back to school. But I also don't have the burden of caring about 67 counties and 22 million people every single day. I don't have to shelter that,
yeah.
except when I'm in Tallahassee. I make laws, I make corrections to what he does, but he actually is the executive that administers the laws that we create as legislators. I can't tell him what
understood.
to do. I can't tell him what to do, right? I can tell you that when I had an issue with what was taking place with the excessive use of force throughout the country, right? And I reached out to the governor's office and said, hey, when are we going to get a statewide database that looks at excessive force and deals with uh, great bodily harm and deaths from excessive force? It was something that my colleague, Representative Anton, who was the former chair of the Legislative Black Caucus from 2018 to 2020, March of 2020, and he had been trying to get that done with Rick Scott. And he had tried that conversation with Governor DeSantis's office. I called and they said, Representative, we can do that and we'll have that done by January 31st, 2021.
Wow.
Now,
That's something to look forward to.
my colleague said to me, they'll start collecting it. My colleague said to me, Representative Omproy, I asked them that question last month and they told me that there's no way. And I said to him, I don't know why they said it's a way now, but I think it's because Tampa's burning, Miami-Dade is burning.
Mm,
And it's not, and I asked at the time when it was critical, right?
right. Right.
So the timing of it is part of it.
Yep.
And so he then asked me, to make sure. He called and talked to them, and he called me back and he said, Rep, they're moving on this. And I said, yeah. So what I'm saying is he does turn around and decide that we can't have these protests where people get stuck, right? And there's going to be grounds for blah 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 if they do this. What he's proposing still has to be passed in Tallahassee. The governor does not make laws.
Mm-hmm.
So he can propose all kinds of stuff. He still has to beg for his stuff just like I do.
Right.
I literally see his team begging for things just like I do. I walk into an office, they're walking out. I'm walking out, they're walking in. Right? And that's how I know I'm in the right offices, by the way. If I see his team, I know I'm in the right space. I'm like, okay, I'm talking to the right person because they're here.
Right.
So my thing is, Althea, is that correct?
Yeah.
Althea, you're not wrong. It's just that we also have to put some blame on Broward County. It's not his alone to carry. Because
And I thank you for bringing that to my attention.
I had to.
And
because
I never
you
did
brought it
blame
up.
him 100% because I know that he, they say stuff rolls downhill. And
You just didn't know who else to blame.
The other thing is,
honestly,
people miss out on. They think that he's Trump's boy. In the current state that we're in, with the needs that we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he goes around and starts yelling, scream at Trump, we're not going to get nothing. That's the other thing that people like. If I walk into the house and yell at everybody's playing a game. Everybody. It's not even a game. Everybody is playing their diplomatic position. You cannot yell and scream at the person you need to get the resources from, because legislators pass laws, the executives administer the money.
Can't bite the hand that feeds you.
So if I yell and scream at him, I'm not going to get no money. Can I tell you, I'm afraid. Now, granted, I need Trumpy gone, right? But I'm afraid.
Your niece calls him that.
Yeah, that's why I call him that too, Trumpy. So I need Trumpy gone, but I'm actually terrified that if Trumpy is gone, that because we have a Republican governor, the Democrats are not going to talk to him and we're not going to get our resources. That's what I'm afraid of.
Oh.
So I'm voting what I know is right, but there are consequences to that vote also, because Governor DeSantis is not going to, remember now, he served in Congress with our congressional delegation, and he's an introvert, so he's not Mr. Friendly. He doesn't accept compliments. He doesn't like when people compliment him. He's not one of those people, and he doesn't like yes people. Everybody around that man is a thinker. You might not like how they're thinking, but they're thinkers, right? So what is going to happen to us when we end up with our Democratic president? What happens to Florida then?
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, but that's when you find a lot of things ending up incomplete because the lines of communication are severed. They don't see the need to speak with, or they don't want to speak with.
However, if he has the best interest of the people of the state of Florida, regardless of his political affiliation, he will, regardless of
who
winds up in the White House.
What Representative Omproy is saying is that it is not him where her concern lies. Her concern lies with the Democrats that won't want to talk to him because he's a Republican.
And I can tell you that I've watched as our party has attacked state employees because they don't like what the governor is doing. These are people who work for an office. This is not the commissioner. This is not, not an elected official. These are employees of the state. And I've watched them drag them for mud as if they control something. right? And so I'm concerned about that part. But I also know that we'll survive that too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just afraid of resources not coming to us because of personalities. But then I look at Biden's track record and I can see my newly formed track record of working across the aisle is how Biden actually was when he was a senator. So I am praying that once this is all over and the ballots fall as they may, that people will get back to caring about
People.
people
Mm.
and move past whatever is there. That's what I heard Vice President Biden say. I'm praying that he will do so. I can tell you that I do not believe that Governor DeSantis is not going to lobby for whatever resources he needs. He's not that type.
Right.
But he's not warm and fuzzy. So so I'm hoping that they will see his love for his state. Because right now we need money for our ports. We need money for our schools. We need money for our airports. The airports got bought out, but like supported, but the ports did not. So we're in some critical state. Right now I'm sitting here living in voterland world, but truth of the fact of the matter is I, it's more terrifying after the election because then we're really going to see all the foolishness.
Yeah. Well,
All right,
let's
I'm
And
wait
done.
and see.
I
Hmm?
just want to put it out there that me, as a constituent, a registered voter, just because it's November 4th, I'm not going to shut my mouth. I'm not going to stop opening my mouth and say, this is what I want. And I'm not going to stop fighting for what I voted for. And so many of us, after the election is over with, whether our candidates win or lose, we just think that, okay, well, I voted for this person. Let me just go ahead and sit back and just wait for them to do what they say they were going to do. No, I'm holding you accountable because I voted for you. I am
As it should
holding
go.
whomever I voted for accountable. And if something happens that they're not doing what they and I don't like this word, promise, because promise is a comfort to a fool.
Hmm.
What you gave me your word that you were going to do for me, you can best believe you're going to hear from me.
So here's a joke. I even hold accountable to people I didn't vote for. And I
Well,
show up in their
once they're
offices
in the office,
anyways.
no, but once they're in the office, they should be held accountable.
No, no, but people will say to you, "Oh, I'm not going to talk to him. I didn't like." I show up in that place as I'm sure Althea does and asks for what she needs and talks about what is necessary and pushes for what is necessary anyways.
Yep.
Even if you didn't vote for those people, you still hold them accountable for the things that they're supposed to do for your
They're
community
making
and for
Yeah.
your
they're making decisions
yeah.
that affect me, so why not hold them accountable?
and
Yep.
and it's your money they're using to make whatever decisions they're making. It's not somebody else's money. It's not free money. It's yours.
Yep.
So I show up and sit down on their pretty couches and ask for what I want, regardless. Sometimes I ask nicely. Sometimes I
So
don't.
sometimes you try to ask nicely.
Yes. All right. Have a nice
Wow.
night.
Representative Anika Omproy. Listen, we're gonna have to do a follow up.
Yes,
And we have
I
to
please.
invite
guess.
Althea to be our co-host.
Yeah, probably next week. I have Lauderhill Police representing,
Nice.
and they do this the second Monday of each month.
Great.
Lauderhill Police is representing, and
I just love how they're
we coming in.
proactive.
Yes, they are.
Hmm.
And I love that they've been gracious enough, from the chief to
Hmm.
community relations, to be on this broadcast and to share what policing in the community
It's
should be
supposed to be.
like.
Hmm. Listen,
So
I whenever whatever day you have, as long I leave on the 15th, um I don't get my marching orders till the 4th, but I know I have to leave on the 15th. But other than that, I mean, and granted,
hey, we're on
I'm
the
talking to
phone.
you virtually,
We're on the
so I can
phone.
talk to you anywhere.
Yeah,
And I'm usually very nice in my bed by 8 o'clock, like a little old lady. So it's
Well,
it's safer because if I had not out there, you would have seen all kind of scandal. And I said, Lord, she'll do this, she'll do that. So it's a good thing I stayed in my bed.
okay.
It's a good
So
thing.
so
Good night.
it's a date. If
It is.
next week I do Lauder Hill, with the following week we do a follow up and see.
That sounds
It will
great.
give
That
us
sounds
some
great.
time
To
to
see what took place.
what is happening with the dust,
Mm-hmm.
kind of settling.
Settle. Mm-hmm.
We don't know if it'll be settled yet, but
Mm.
we'll
Well,
work it out.
listen to me carefully. We still, no matter what happens, we still have to deal with that gentleman until the very end. Let me take that back. That man
Okay.
until the year done.
The resident.
So the resident, the resident in chief. So 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 no matter what, we're going to feel some effects when he's not here. Um, and anybody who has not voted yet, please go out and vote.
Please, please, please. You have till 7 p.m. tomorrow, whoever's listening.
Do it early. Do it early.
Bring
Do it
your
early.
mask, get your water, and bring
And
your
your
headphones.
ID.
Yes, don't forget your ID.
Please.
And you have to
Yeah.
go to your assigned polling place. You can't just show up anywhere and vote. You have to go to your assigned polling place.
And they have changed, but if you go to Broward SOE, like dot com or .org, you will be
.org,
able
BrowardSOE.org.
you will be able to type in your address and find out exactly where your precinct is. And now you have my information, Twitter or Facebook. You can say, "Hey, rep, I can't figure this out," and I will help you find it.
Yep.
And you don't need to have a voter's registration card as long as your ID has your current address on it where you're registered to vote.
Look at you.
100% facts.
Okay.
And if they give you a hard time, call me, because then I can argue with the people for you.
What, they're gonna call you on what? You didn't give any numbers. How they gonna call you?
Oh, no! You don't know you can call people on Facebook now, and people have called me on Facebook.
Facebook Messenger. What are you talking about, DJ?
I saw people pop up on my phone, and I'm like, who is this? Okay.
Okay.
Good
You can't
afternoon.
hide.
How may I help you, Representative Omproy? How may I help you?
No, this is me. How is this happening? How did you do that? I was like, I gotta take this off. Anyway.
You can't hide. You cannot hide.
Oh my
Listen,
God.
ladies, I bid you
Thank
all a
you
good morning.
all so
Good
much.
night. Thank you so very
No,
much.
it's
Kevin.
morning,
Thank you,
lady.
Althea.
It's morning.
I know it's
Oh, good
1:14
morning.
a.m.
My bad.
Good morning. Sorry. Bye.
No, you said morning, not good morning, morning.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what you say to somebody when you're not happy with the fact that they took you 3 hours through a program. Good night. Good morning. Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who stuck around for the extras, there you have it. Representative Anika Omproy, State Representative in the House, the Florida House, District 95. Look her up. Clearly, she's the real deal. So, this is one that we need to stay close to. This is one that we need to keep our eyes and our ears open for, because she's putting in the work. I'm going to bounce out of here with a piece of berries. It's called To Duty.
This world is so unforgiving, and I prove it every day.
Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you, wherever you are in the world. From right here in South Florida, I bid you a good night.
Not sure when a little baby's born, we can guarantee that the little child grows up to be one that we're proud of, one with so much love, one that we can build the future on. blessings to dilute. I know, cause even the weather is telling the truth. So it rains, so it pours, nature's knocking at our doors. And with all of that, tell me, do we still ignore? Oh no, but no one seems to have this magic solution. No remedy or cure. Now every time I think about giving up, this power makes me wanna fight more. Fight for the will over children. Fight so that we can protect them. Fight so that love can repair it. Fight so that love will prevail. Fight so that there will be no war. Fight so that no one robs the courage of. Fight for my brothers and my sisters. Those who are drowning in disasters. Oh, fight for the weak and afflicted. Fight in the war against the wicked. Fight for the dawning of a brighter day. Fight for a time when we can all say, love you, my brother and my sister. Regardless of color, we are people.
Greetings and salutations, one and all. You're invited to tune in to the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. It airs on Mondays with Community and Finance, Tuesdays with Healthy Love, and Wednesdays with Real Talk from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Come spend some time interacting in the stew pot where we keep things bubbling and wind down in musical therapy. The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew is on kevinstew.com, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment.